And I'm live. Good morning, everybody. It is, hopefully, we got sound. Let me get a head check here. We do have sound. Good. Hello. I am solo this morning for a little bit. Broseph's running a little bit late. We do this show. My name is Dave Wright. You are on the right ideas. We do this show every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Broseph lives in Central Mountain Time, and like myself, had some trouble sleeping last night. Here in New Hampshire, it's been getting up to like 90 plus degrees during the day and then dropping down to like 60 at night. So I'm out all day, so I usually don't put the AC on. I just let it get warm, and then I turn the fans on before bed, and it gets down to the 60s. Well, last night it didn't get down past the 70s, so it stayed 76, and I was not sleeping well. So I am up. I am here, ready to do the show, and I want to talk to you guys. This is a good thing, actually, that Broseph's a little bit late, because I wanted to talk to you about Instacart, and this will give me some time to talk to you about Instacart without Broseph having to sit through something that he doesn't do. Maybe he would enjoy this. But today is July 1st, and what that means is from July 1st to September 30th, Instacart redoes the shopper cart rankings. And if you're not familiar with this, Instacart has 3 shopper cart ratings. They're gold, platinum, and diamond. And so when you first start Instacart, all right, and you don't have to start today. If you were going to try to become a diamond shopper, today is the best day to go. Link in the bio to sign up. If you're going to sign up, you don't have to use my link, but use somebody's link for Instacart, because they get a little bit of reward, and sometimes you get a little bit of reward. If not, that referral fee money just stays in the big corporations' pockets when we can distribute it among ourselves as workers. So you start doing orders on July 1st to September 30th, and if you get 20 orders, starting with September, October, what's after September? October? So starting October 1st, yes, starting October 1st, you would be a gold cart member, and you would get particular things. Actually, I can pull that up. So why don't I'll pull it up in my tricorder here. Is that what they were called? What were they called on Star Trek? All right, so I'm currently only a platinum thing. Oh, Broseph is here earlier than expected. Hey, Broseph.
What up?
So I'm going to rewind it. Rewind. Good morning.
Morning.
Everybody, Broseph's here. Thank Broseph in the comments for showing up. It's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it is 7 a.m. Central Mountain Time?
Yeah, 7 a.m. right now.
Yeah. So I don't think this show would be going off at 7 a.m. if I had to get up every day at 7 a.m. So I appreciate.
Usually I'm good.
Broseph.
Usually I'm good. I'm like, I'm ready. I've had some coffee in me at this point, but today I woke up around 2 a.m. and couldn't go back to sleep, and I was like, oh, this is dumb. This is the one morning.
Yeah.
I have to be up. Every other morning. I'm like, I'm up at like 5:30, after, because if I sleep to that point, then it's perfect.
No, I get it. It's been, I was talking a little bit before you got here. I thought you were going to be a little bit longer. It's been like, it's going to get up to like 90s today, but I'm on the 3rd floor, and the sun's going to hit my unit all day long. And so it'll probably get to, by the end of the day, like 90 degrees in here.
Holy cow.
Now, typically, I'm going to be out all day, so I don't care. I like the fresh air. I keep everything open. I don't put the AC on. And then I come home and I put the fans on, and it's New Hampshire. So by the time nighttime rolls around, it's down in the 60s. That wind goes through. I have a nice sleep. I wake up to everything being open in the 60s, and it's like a nice morning. Get my coffee, close it up, turn the AC on. Well, it never got down past like 72 last night. So it stayed 76 in here. And I kept waking up like and drenched in sweat, tossing and turning. And it wasn't until like the fourth time that I was like, oh, it's because it's so hot in here. And I got up and I checked the temperature and I was like, oh, it's 76 in here. And I'm like, so I put the fan on me and that did help. But yeah, so I get missing some sleep.
Yeah.
So,
but you're still on point with your schedule. God damn. Impressive.
no, I stayed up late last night and I did the, I didn't have any caffeine in the thing. So I did something that I don't typically do is I went and I bought some pre-made coffee. This was $7 for an iced latte, but Aroma Joe's is so good. If you're in New Hampshire, I think they have them in Pennsylvania now, but they started in New Hampshire. They're in Maine and a couple other places. Really good coffee. Like I actually don't mind paying $7 for an almond milk latte there because you take your first sip and you literally can taste the espresso. And if you get like an iced coffee with a shot of espresso, you take a sip and you're like, oh, that's the iced coffee. And then you can taste the back end of the espresso shot. So it's like actual, like they're not just taking like coffee and then pouring like dark coffee in it and saying, yeah, here's your espresso shot.
Here's your espresso shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually is really good. And all the workers, typically where I live, a little bit more rural, are all high school and college students that are using the tip money for like their summer fun or whatever. So you don't feel bad spending $7 and then giving them a tip, and they're so friendly.
Yeah.
So I have become I noticed this with Instacart and DoorDash, a couple of things, because I deal with like the public. I've become a hello. And I was like, wait, I never had that down in Massachusetts, but now that I'm in New Hampshire, and I recognized it this morning, like I go to the coffee and I don't go to the drive-thru, I go to the walk-up. They have a couple sit-down places, but most of them are shacks. So you have like a walk-up window, or you can get in line. I like to just walk up. So I park and I walk up, and she opens the window and she's like, "Hello," and I'm like, "Hello," and I didn't think anything of it until she was making my coffee, and then I was like, "Hey, it's just so much fun. Like it is fun. Like if you're at home right now, if you're in your car, if you're in your truck doing gig work or whatever." Just give a big hello.
Hello.
I think it also comes from I'm a big, scary, hairy dude. And when I like deliver groceries, I put like all of it in a black tote and I throw like 100 pounds of groceries on my shoulder and I like run into somebody's backyard and put the thing down and unpack it. I don't make multiple trips. Yeah. And so if I come around the corner and I see like an elderly lady, I'm always like, hello, I'm not going to kill you.
Hello. Hello. Look, I'm friendly.
So I was just going to say, I was telling the viewers before you got here that July 1st is a great time to start Instacart delivery. And the reason being is from July 1st to September 30th is the new window for cart rankings. So the cart rankings are gold, platinum, and diamond. And you get special treatment within the app based on that. So what happens is if you're a diamond person and you've done 300 or more orders in a month, in the lot of time from like July to September, and then it'll be from October 1st till whenever the new ones will start. And you got to keep a 4.7% rating. So they're like, if you do 300 in a short amount of time and stay close to a 5% like perfection rate. So it's not like just do a bunch of them quick and fuck them up and you get these benefits. You have to keep a high rating,
quality.
And do a lot of things. You get these ratings. And I was going to start going through them. And because reason why is a lot of people will start Instacart. I was talking to a couple people online the other day because I had posted that on Sunday, I did a full day of Instacart. I worked from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. with a brief lunch. And I went quick, but I got good orders. And I made $477 and change. 70+% of that was just tips. the batch rate was only like 100 and something. 300 of it was, or whatever was tips. Yeah.
Nice.
So I want to go over a little bit of that today, but also people are like, well, I did Instacart and it sucked. And it's like, yeah, it does when you start, because if you're not a gold cart, which is pretty easy to get, which is 20 orders within the allotted amount of time and the 5 rating, you literally get the scraps. So Diamond has already looked at them, picked through them in your area. Platinum has looked through them, gold, and they said, okay, here's the rest of the order. So by the time they get to you, you're seeing long mileage, low tips, and all that stuff, because any high tips, short mileage is picked up by the Diamonds immediately. I'm Platinum, and when I was doing my orders on Sunday, like I was getting like $75 orders, and it was like 5 miles of driving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So one of the orders was like Lowe's, which is in this part of the parking lot, and then in the grocery store in the same parking lot. So I went to Lowe's. I had to pick up 2 35-pound bags of sand, which is probably why nobody took the order. But I went in and I didn't know what they were. I thought they were going to be like boxes of grout.
Yeah.
They were 35-pound bags of sand, and I didn't have a cart. So I was like, well, I was like, happy I'm a man. So I threw two of them on my shoulder, and then I was like, whoa. And it started burning my neck right here as I'm walking to checkout. Immediately checked them out, put them in, and then drove next door, did the shopping thing, and then did the drop-offs. The drop-offs are pretty close. The sand was a pain in the ass. But when it was all said and done, it took me about an hour and 10 minutes to do for $75. And then so that really like helped my rate. So by the end of the day, I think I made like $47 an hour average, minus gas, minus wear and tear. But had I not been Platinum, I wouldn't be seeing that. Like these were really good orders, but Diamond had already looked through them first. And then I'm taking that $75 order. Then people that are gold are looking, and so it's already gone by then, so they're not seeing that. And then the gold people are going through, and then the new people are like, wait a minute, I got to drive 20 miles for $9 and pick 100 items. And it's like, no, but you have to like, you know what I mean? I actually like it because Instacart is one of the few apps that rewards the way that their system works, and the reason that Amazon and Walmart are trying to copy them, and DoorDash now too, because DoorDash added shopping, is if you're a good shopper with a good rating and you do lots of shops, so you've gotten lots of practice and you get first dibs, then you get the best customers. But the best customers always also get to work with the best shoppers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if you end up, most of the time, if you are doing new shopping, which sucks, is you're like, man, this person's not tipping and they're being really demanding. And you're like, yeah, because like you're new, but also you're getting the crappiest of the crappy people. And Instacart's trying to teach you like how you navigate yourself. And then it's lonely at the top because like, dude, I send out my custom message as soon as I get into like on Sunday, I was sending out like my custom message now that I'm Platinum. And now I got to start all over again. So maybe I'll shoot for Diamond this month. But I would send out my custom messages basically like, my name's Dave. I'll be a professional shopper for the day. This primes the person so that they know it's not a robot or it's not a conveyor belt or it's not some corporation. I'm actually here. I'm a person. I'm going to help you. I'm not some delivery guy either. I'm your professional shopper.
Yeah.
And I say, there isn't any orders. If there's anything on the order that it doesn't have, I'm going to find the best replacement for you. Mm-hmm. This way they know like that I'm professional. I looked, it's not there. This is what I think is the best. So like if they're like, oh, why are you I don't want that. I want this. It's like, yeah, I would have given you that already if it was here, but it's not. And then next I say, if you have any food restrictions or allergies, please let me know. And if you forgot to add anything, just tell me. Thanks, Dave, or whatever. So this does a couple of things. Frames myself as a professional shopper so that they know that there's a service being promoted, and I'm a person. So now it's like they're not just do stuff for me, and you don't need any money or whatever. It also explains to them the biggest obstacle when you're in there is that there's going to be missing items. And sometimes you'll waste so much time going back and forth with them doing the replacement. And then they end up at the original place you were with the item you picked, but you've wasted 10 minutes. Then when you ask about the food replacement stuff, the blessing is a lot of people really appreciate asking if they have restrictions or allergies. Because if they're ordering like a gluten-free oatmeal and it's not there, so you go to replace it with the same brand because you're just looking at brand. Yeah. They don't want the same brand. They want a different brand that's gluten-free.
Yeah.
And so they appreciate that. Then when you ask, is there anything else I can add to the order? Why this is good is a lot of people tip percentage-wise. So they do 20% of the order, let's say, or 10% or whatever. So if you add stuff to that order while you're already doing that order in that store and the order gets bigger, you're just giving yourself a bigger percentage of a tip. So if they're like, oh yeah, I did forget these things. Thanks for reminding me. I didn't know I could add it and you could add it. Now I add it and now the order goes from $80 to $100. Now I'm making 20% of 100 instead of 20% of 80. Yeah. But anyways, so once you get into this mindset, I send them that custom message, and I have so many people reach out to me like, "Oh my God, that's the nicest thing that anybody sent me here. Oh, I feel really safe now. Thank you." Like so many people will say that, and I watch my tips go up.
A little bit of consideration.
Yeah, when you're done with your orders, it takes a little while. They can change their tip within 2 hours, but they can reduce their tip within 2 hours, but they can add to your tip within 48, I think, or something like that. I forget what it is because they can't tip it anymore. But so many times I'll look and there is an additional tip, like I made big tips on Sunday. Like I said, 70 plus, I think it was 72% of my money came from tips, and most of them were tip ups after they had a good experience with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I recommend when people are shopping, whether it's Walmart, Spark, DoorDash is kind of new with shopping, but Shipped and Instacart. I have a lot of regulars that I do repeat runs. And when I hit that message and it comes up, now people will be like, "Oh, Dave, I got you again. Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you swap the frozen stuff again?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I got it." And then like the app will have like all the Dole like frozen fruit, which is expensive, but they want the store brand.
Yeah.
And so people won't swap it, but it's not in the app for them to do, but I can put it in for them. And then they're like, the money they save, they end up just giving to me.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I highly recommend shopping quicker, spending less gas, and then using your customer or people skills to get more tips. And the apps that allow you to do that are the ones where you have interactions with the customers, which is Shipped, which is a shopping app, Walmart Spark, but it's a little bit like a corporate, in Instacart. And Instacart is still the top layer of all the shopping apps that everybody's trying to copy. So anyways, if you were to start now, you have the longest amount of time to attempt to get 300 orders if you started today, obviously. But if not, it's easy. You only need 20 for gold. This is the best time to start doing it with really good orders to get your 20. You know what I mean? Just be hyper selective, get your 20, then try gold, which should give you more. And then you can have to be less selective. And then you would have 100 by Christmas time. And like for me, I've been platinum for a couple months and I have noticed a huge increase in money. Nice. So I'm like, maybe I will shoot for diamond and see what it's all about, because I'm not getting any other flexible jobs that I can make $50 an hour at. Here's the other thing I will say. Sorry, I know I've been talking a lot, but I know you're also tired, so you can just be my Ed McMahon.
Yeah,
Ed McMahon this morning. Is the store people love me too. So I know I live in New Hampshire, so that's the caveat, where it's a little smaller town. But I run into the same people. They're super friendly. At least I think they like me. Maybe they're told to be nice to me because I'm an Instacart guy.
Yeah.
But very helpful, very kind, very friendly. I forget what I was going to say. Oh, but I'm hustling. So like when I'm saying I make 44.77, like I'm like order, go right to the store, get in, grab the carts. I've auto hooked up to all the Wi-Fi's in all these stores. So like when I walk in, my phone switches from cell data to secure Wi-Fi. I have all the passwords. You can go in and you can ask them for the secured Wi-Fi link, tell them you're a shopper, and a lot of the managers will give it to you. So you're on the main one. It auto logs you in. Then I'll have 2 carts with like a carriage on top. So I'm doing like 3 orders at a time most of these times. So like I did 22 orders on Sunday, around 8 batches. I think I worked it out. And so it's basically 1 batch an hour, but it wasn't like that. I had I had that $75 one that took a little bit more. I had like another one that was like 50 that took me like 35 minutes. It was just like a really good order. Nice. Anyways, but when I leave, like I have 2 carts and I'll like run and put my feet on them and get them to the car and like ride them like, Teen Wolf. Like, I'm moving too. Like I'm not lollygagging. When I finish my orders, you have a timer here in the bottom corner when you're doing it, and it'll say like estimated time. I'm always ahead of that when I check out. I'm running outside to the car. I fill the car up quick. I go right to the thing. There's no stopping or whatever. So it's nonstop, high energy from 7. Was from 9 to 7 when I went on Sunday. One little break in the afternoon, but it's just go, go, go. And when you're doing that, the app recognizes it, because as soon as I hit drop off and the app's open, I immediately just get filled with all the orders of what's next. Where I know I'm not even close to the store and they're sending them to me, because I know there's somebody that's slow, that's not doing as well, that doesn't have as good as replacement rate or a good rapport with the customers, that's not getting those orders. And so like it rewards you that effort when you're breaking the times and you're going in there and you're making good replacements in the customers. Now, the other thing that helps me in the app, and I've noticed, is when you're doing that and you get reviews from customers that say he was great, this is whatever, and they take the time to do that. I've noticed so many more orders from Instacart when customers give you actual written reviews.
Damn, nice.
They don't always do. Yeah. I've done hundreds of orders and I've only gotten dozens of
written reviews.
Yeah, even from people that say, "Oh, this is the best. Thank you so much," whatever. Because not everybody is also using the app. So some stores, like especially older people, they can log in on their computer and they'll go to the Shaw's or the Hannaford's website and they'll order their groceries there. And then Instacart has got the contract, so it goes to me, but they're not going through the Instacart. interface. They're going through the interface on the
whatever local grocery store they have.
whatever grocery store it has. So, anyways, the link to Instacart is in the description below if you're interested in any of this stuff. I'm assuming Walmart Spark is somewhat similar, although I heard customer communication is less of a factor, and it's more of getting a high-paying orders with that, and knowing when to wait and when to grab a particular order. Last thing I guess I'll do, because the title is kind of about the Instacart, is let me just pull up and explain the other benefits that you get, because these benefits can also just help you in your day-to-day life or your in your your gig work life. So like if you're a gold member, which you have to complete 20 orders, gold card, you have to be a good shopper rating, which is you need a minimum of a 4.7 customer rating. And a couple things. Customer ratings, it's the last 100 ratings. So when you get your 101st rating, your 101st rating drops off and you get a new 100. So then if I get 3 ratings from a customer today, my oldest 3 will fall off, and they keep the average of the 100. As far as your shopping quality, which is like finding good replacements, shopping good, finding the right items that match the stuff or whatever, that's a 90-day cycle. So everything 91 days ago disappears instantly. Every morning this happens. So it's not like a 30-day window and then 30 days drops off or whatever. It's every day it resets, but it's your shopping rating is 90 days and your customer rating is 100, the past 100 orders. But anyways, so with gold, you get 1 to 2% cash back with your shopper's reward card on gasoline up to 35 cents per gallon. So if you're just like looking to do Instacart part-time and you can do 20 orders within July 1st to September 30th, you can then use this cash back starting in October and do it all over again. So even if you're using another app or you're just trying to make a little bit extra money, I would highly recommend getting that 20 in, because then you can get those benefits for your regular life. And if you have an electric car, it's 1% cash back on all EV charges. Then you can get an additional 50% off on oil changes. To do backup care. Most of the other stuff is just whatever. Diamond, it goes up a little bit more because you get 3 to 4% back on cash, 3% back on the EV charges. That's this at the top, and then a free Instacart membership. So you still have to tip, but then you can start getting, once you're a busy top tier Instacart driver, you can also get your groceries delivered. See what the experience is like. That's why I think they should offer this at a lower level, because it would allow the shopper to see what the customer's experience is like.
Yeah.
And to learn from it. But I would, if you're getting into gig work and it's in your area, I'll drop it after this. I guess in 29 minutes in, I would say this is probably the best time to use the link below to start Instacart. And then if you do sign up through me, you don't have to. You could sign up through anybody in your area or an online person that you trust. But definitely use somebody's code, because that money is out there for them and you to get. Why keep it on the table for the corporation when they're different all over and I can't see it. But if I get people to sign up here in my state, I get $400 for everybody that stays on 30 days.
Nice.
It's kind of counterproductive, kind of, because like, why would I want to train my replacement for $400 that I can make in one day? But the opportunities, the opportunities are there. I think that's it. The other thing too is it's July 4th weekend. And that's why when I went to get my coffee this morning, I was like, I should be back in showtime. And you're like, dude, it's going to take 30 minutes to get a coffee. And I was like, when you live in New Hampshire during any 3-day weekend or a big holiday, Vermont, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, they all swarm to get some freedom here in New Hampshire every holiday. So sometimes you leave your door, you're like, what's going on in New Hampshire? And then it's a 3-day weekend. You look at the license plates and they're from everywhere. Yeah. And then Sunday morning. Yeah. Then Sunday morning you try to go out and it's like bumper to bumper traffic. You know, is there an accident? And then you look at the license plate, like, oh no, it's everybody's coming here. Yeah, or all the communists are coming to get a little taste of freedom for their holiday.
What do you call people from Massachusetts? Massachusettsians?
No, we call them massholes.
Massholes. It's a Utard as well for Utah.
Yeah, so we have the worst one is massholes. The land of tax with a T, Taxachusetts. That's what they get. Rhode Island are road hogs. They do drive poorly and it's small. Massachusetts is poor too, but they stick with the asshole. Maine are maniacs. Maine's not that bad, but but if you go there, it is kind of crazy because we have 95 that runs from Maine all the way to Florida. The name kind of changes in a few places, but that interstate that runs the East Coast in Maine, they have they have no medium in Maine. They just have the metal barriers on both sides.
Okay.
With a Jersey barrier in the middle. So there's no like grass in between. And then they have really good highways that are like, I don't know how they keep their highways, but they maintain them very flat typically. Even after the winter, they'll redo them.
Nice.
And the speed limit, and then there's 2 lanes on each side, but there's no place for cops to like nest because there's no middle thing.
Beautiful.
Right? So no, it is, but also when I go up there, and now that it's so populated, it used to be pretty slow. Now that it's so popular, when I used to do driving up there, like the medical courier stuff, the speed limit's 70. You have to go 80 to kind of keep up with traffic. And everybody's flying by you going like 90 plus because there's only a few spots against miles and miles where they can stop you. We speed here in New Hampshire too. Mostly because the police are pretty good to locals and they get most of their money. Like this 4th of July weekend, the cops are all like, they're going to give out tickets to every out-of-towner license plate. I would just recommend if you're coming to New Hampshire for the holiday, do not drive with the flow of traffic. Drive the speed limit because if you're driving the flow of traffic and all the other people driving with you have New Hampshire license plates and you have a red Massachusetts and they all have green New Hampshire, you're speeding and they're not. I don't know if you know that, but that's the rules up here.
That's funny. That's an interesting rule.
Yeah. I mean, it's for the most part.
That's funny. That's the rule here is that the cops got real beaten down about 5 years ago or so. So they don't pull anyone over unless they've started to pull people over for having expired temporary tags.
Yeah.
And sometimes expired plates. But it was a few months ago. I saw an article, maybe the beginning of the year. So they're like, all right, it's coming, the enforcement for temporary tags. And I'm like, the hell, you guys weren't doing that the entire time? I thought that was the whole law thing. But now you can pretty much speed within reason, keeping up with the flow of traffic. Like there's been times that I've been like, thinking I've been keeping up with the flow of traffic, passing everyone else. you know, and in the leftmost lane, you know, and then all of a sudden they're like 2 or 3 people come around me like, you know, going like, I'm already going not, you know, us.
Well, that's how
allegedly going 90.
So we have like some pretty straight highways coming from once you get out of Nashua in like Manchester and you get up towards me in central New Hampshire. We have pretty straight highways and the speed limit's 70. So I think like a lot of people in Massachusetts are like, oh, let's go. And it's 2 lanes and there's typically not a lot of traffic until they swarm.
Yeah.
So I think they're like, you know, it does feel good. Like we don't have a seatbelt law up here. And typically I wear my seatbelt, but like when I was doing Amazon Flex in the morning, I didn't wear my seatbelt because you're stopping every so often and there's nobody out. And I'm like, dude, this does feel kind of fun and like dangerous and like free not to have the seatbelt on.
Now imagine just sitting in one of the old cars with, you know, like just like the bench seat.
I don't have to imagine, dude. I'm 51.
No, I know, but like I mean, but you know, just still having.
No, that's how we grew up. Like that's how we grew up. We're like seatbelts. Like I always kind of wore my seatbelt growing up. Well, not growing up. When I was able to drive, I always wore my seatbelt. But growing up, we were like bouncing around in the back of the station wagon. No one said like buckle up or whatever.
Yeah, that's funny. My parents did say buckle up, but just that imagery of in the back of the station wagon. Also had a station wagon when I was young, and you know, of course, me and my brother would take our seatbelts off in the back seat because you know the rear facing one.
Yeah,
you know, and then just.
Well, I don't want to get into total like libertarian talking point economics or whatever, but seatbelts don't actually save lives. They do, like they do
great at abortions.
But the reason that they don't save actual lives is because like now the speed limits are 70 and people are going 80 and 90 because they have a seatbelt. So they just go faster and faster. Where like when we weren't wearing a seatbelt and we were going to my cousin's house, like for Thanksgiving, my dad was going like 40 miles an hour. Now, because we have seatbelts and all this extra safety stuff, people are driving 70 and 80 miles an hour. They're going twice the speed. So the danger stuff. So like there's an old economic paper written saying if you actually wanted to, make cars safer, like emotionally for people. It's not that you add airbags and seatbelts and stuff. You actually want to put a metal spike that pops out of the steering wheel when it goes a certain speed. And it's like, because like that risk of danger will actually slow people down, where like bike accidents are the same thing. Since the introduction of helmets, people have had more head injuries. Now, it's tough to tell, but also like they're also being more risky and dangerous and taking more chances because now you have a helmet on.
Oh, I have a helmet on. I'm fine.
Yeah. So, but anyways, the other thing is crazy, and I'll drop talk is we got rid of car inspections last year.
Yes, I remember.
It went into effect January 31st, 2026, but the federal government said you can't do that. You have to have that. So we're in a lawsuit, but currently we don't have inspection stickers. But a funny thing came up back to like if you're driving down the highway and you see a bunch of green license plates and you're going the same speed, they're not speeding, but you are because you're from Massachusetts. The police are asking, well, we don't need inspection stickers in New Hampshire, so I'm not going to pull people over. But if out-of-staters come and they have expired tags, they're breaking the rules of their states. Are we allowed to pull them over and give them a ticket? And so far, the answer has been no, because that would be the responsibility of the other states. And they actually won the argument because because Vermont said, okay, well, we're going to give tickets to the New Hampshire people that don't have inspections
because you're breaking federal law.
Because you're breaking.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we recognize federal law, but you guys are saying it's a states' rights argument. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see. Wow, that's so funny how like just the little debates between, I mean, specifically between like those northeastern states like that. That
I don't think people realize like what
there's a lot more animosity there. I feel like than most. I feel like
like in like Utah, Colorado, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean,
Nevada, yeah.
around here, it's like Utah's like, we're the Mormons, and then Colorado's like we're kind of gay, and then New Mexico is we're Indians, and then Arizona is we're golf courses, and then that's
Well,
it's just kind of it's just kind of people just do it's more of a the a bigger influence of the ancestors of frontiersmen, because that's a little more recent ancestry than the the pilgrim ancestry that kind of settled the Northeast, because you got the Northeast and all the other Ellis Island racial groups, but then but I was gonna make a comparison. The closest comparison here is like Idaho and California, like people in Idaho.
Colorado is not specifically. Utah is not very happy with California. Well, what I was going to say is
they're starting to be.
You're from the East Coast.
Gay,
I won't dox you and your family, but you're from the East Coast originally. And like, if you look at a population map, right, you can, first of all, if you draw a line almost directly down the center of the United States,
yeah,
I think like 80% of the whole population lives from that middle line over to the East Coast. And then when you go to the West, even the rest of those mostly live in California on the coast.
Yeah, it's like the
30% of all the population, I think, is on just the coast alone. And then the middle is even less, but it's shifted more to the right. So with New Hampshire, these are like part of the original colonies and everybody setting the thing up. We have dense population. All the land is pretty much used and packed into an expensive here where you're on top of one another, unlike the West. So even when I live in rural New Hampshire, I usually say suburban rural because for New Hampshire and for New England, I'm pretty rural. But if you were to bring somebody from the West to my house, they'd be like, you live in the city. You know what I mean? But it's like, yes, you're correct. My neighbors, I have neighbors everywhere. I live like in the suburbs, but there's 1,200 people here, and I'm pretty close. I'm 20 minutes from a 40K city.
Yeah.
So, but for New England, this is like suburban rural living, and a little bit north gets more. Anyways.
Oh, it's very funny because I grew up in, I mean, it's not Doxon, but Southern Maryland.
Yeah.
And like
everybody knows where I live. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
personal life. You use a pseudonym online, so I figured.
I do shout out Maryland. And
is it a pseudonym or a surname?
Pseudonym. My surname is Scandinavian.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, the down in Southern Maryland, it was funny because growing up, my dad was like, it was a lot more rural growing up, and then the bass really took off, because he's grew up in the 80s and stuff like that, and then he's like, bass got a lot bigger, especially after 9/11, and then it's a lot more, it's turned into city down here. It is funny because then I visited about 5 years ago or so. I was like, man, this is so funny. I thought that I used to think that this was a city because it's kind of a similar comparison. It's like a rural city because there's a base there. They have a little strip mall area. They have like the, they have a movie theater. They have, a Target, BJ, all the stores, a bunch of stuff. But then also, it's not a city. Because I lived in at first had grown up in Waldorf, a little further north in Charles County, a little closer to DC, and that was more like living in the suburbs of a small city, but anyways, on the flip side, around here, there's the opposite phenomenon that happens where cities become ghost towns, and there's some places where people grew up decades ago, and then people fled to the city. Now what's happening to some of those places, some of the more rural areas, I'm not sure about Colorado specifically, but I do know in some of these like Midwestern towns, that's where they're they have been, where some of these maybe like factories of various companies are. That's where people are leaving. Well, okay, we have a population crisis. We need to bring in thousands of immigrants we need thousands of Haitians to work at the Tyson food factory. So
Well,
basically what I've maybe this is maybe some argument for, hey, might be a good idea to move to a more rural area, and especially if you develop these skills and stuff, but to make money independently, you don't have to stay where you're at. You can move around, and maybe if enough people do this, it can help influence against the now legal invasion of our country.
when I grew up in the late 70s, I was born in 75, but born in California, but I grew up in Massachusetts. In the 70s, mid 80s, we decided to move, and my parents were like, "We're moving to, this town," and I was like, "Oh, felt forever," because we used to go to this Mexican restaurant. I grew up in Southern California, so we ate a lot of Mexican food. My family liked it. I remember as a kid, we would drive from my house to this Mexican restaurant. I would sit in the back, and it felt like forever. And I would look up, and then I would see this billboard, and I was like, okay, that means we're getting close to this Mexican restaurant that we go to. And then when we moved, we said, we're moving to that town near that Mexican restaurant. I was like, oh, that's so far away from my friends. So when we had made the move, there was one traffic light that went from where we lived. The speed limit was 30. It was all trees on both sides. And there's just this 2-lane highway with one traffic light with this intersection. And you go through. So going 30 miles an hour from that town to that town did take like an hour to get there. Now that I'm an adult, that place that we lived to, which the new house was literally in the woods that we used to play in, it's all houses. It's all strip malls leading to another mall. Like everything's there. Like there's a Ruby Tuesdays next to a Chili's, next to an Applebee's, with a Walmart behind it, and all that stuff. And now the speed limit there is 55 with lights every X amount of blocks between the industrial parks. So you can get from, it's still, if you would take that Route 1, it would still take about an hour to get, 30 minutes at that speed with all the stops. But you can get on the highway now and be there in much less time. So the point of the story being is like, I grew up in kind of a rural suburban area. Yeah. And if you went back there, it would still be considered rural suburban compared to
the rest
Boston
of the world
or Providence, where it's even more packed. But Attleboro is a city. But like from when we moved there, when it was literally like a couple of stores and like no traffic lights, to like this, it looks like an anime cityscape with the lights now at nighttime, and and all the stores and all the trees have been cut down. So anyway, to bring it back to the gig work, I've lived outside Providence, and when I lived outside Providence, I did Instacart, DoorDash, Amazon Flex, Uber, Lyft, in real estate inspections, all outside Providence. And I was able to make a living doing DoorDash, Amazon Flex, Amazon Fresh, which is a sub of whatever, it's the grocery one. And I was able to do it in Boston. And then I moved up here. I went from populations of millions to population of 40K is the closest big city and I live in, and I'm still able to figure out the gig work. Now, having said that, if I live on the East Coast, so like my rural is different than your rural and my suburb. So like I don't know if somebody in like rural in Alaska is going to be able to have the same experience, but I can tell you your innovation, your tracking of the days and the apps or whatever, you can figure it out because like I used to work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday down in Providence and Boston. Now I work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday do DoorDash if I want to. And then also it just takes time. Like I was doing the medical career stuff, it didn't work out, and instead of just walking away, I talked to them. They gave me the afternoon gig. Now I got a set $60 a day, Monday through Friday, and it's I've got it down that it doesn't even take an hour anymore. I've kind of walked through them. Now it takes 30 minutes for me to do it because
Holy cow.
well, I go there later now and I say, hey, I'm going to pack up. If there's anything extra, instead of you guys having to wait, let's put it in the locked cage up front and I'll just give me the code and I'll come back and get it. So before I had to get there at 4:30 because if there was 2 trips, I had to get it done before they were there. Now I can go late at the last minute, get my stuff, and if there's any extra, throw it in the front and come back so no one has to wait.
Yeah.
And now that's cut my time down significantly. So now it's still wear and tear and whatever, and I still have to plan around it. So it's not technically 30 minutes because like if I were to get a really good Instacart order for like $80 or $100 at a certain time, I can't do it because I have this $60 obligation.
Yeah, but also it's a guarantee.
Yeah. So there's a halo around of stuff that I can do, and and it ties me to like I can't go to Maine for the day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But most people can't do that anyways. You get up and you go into a cubicle from 9 to 5, and so it's they're like, oh, sorry, you're tied to this one place for 30 minutes Monday through Friday. I'm in a cubicle with flashing, flickering lights over me asking for TPS reports. So
right, and yeah. And then if you do that, you're getting $200 to $300 a day for 9 hours plus drive time.
Yeah,
plus commute, and then meanwhile. Probably realistically with drive time, probably about an hour from the time you get home or you leave home to the time you get back home, hour and a half or so, but even that's great for $60.
Well, on Sunday I was just living the dream. It was sunny out, it was hot. I don't use AC, it makes me sick. I have to use it in my house with an air filter because I can't sleep. So it still kind of makes me sick, but the sick isn't as bad as being able to sleep.
Yes.
But when I'm in my car, I just sweat and I just deal with it because the AC, it gives me a headache behind my eyes. I don't know why. But anyways, the point being, I had all my windows down. I had my sunroof open and I was listening to music and I had my hand out the sunroof and I was just listening to rock and I was doing the thing with in the wind. Out my roof. And I just saw this guy walking his dog down the street and he saw my hand and he went, and he waved to me and he thought I was waving and I waved back. I was like, hey, whatever. And he was like super excited. And then he was like, wow. And then I saw some kids with a lemonade stand and they're going like this. And I'm like, beep, beep. And they're like, wow. And so I'm just laughing. So I'm like, man, this kicks ass, dude. I'm going to make about $500 today. I'm out in the sun. The neighbors in New Hampshire are so friendly and like I just feel like part of the community. Like I know this is going to be a different experience for everybody elsewhere, but here the people see me come in, the other store shoppers that are for like that work in the store will always say hi to me now and we talk back and forth and we joke around while we're shopping.
Nice.
So like there's that. The cashiers know me, the customers know you. So if you can change your mindset from uh, a like a working for something to a 1099, and then I had said in some of my TikTok videos that to help people become entrepreneurs, and there was some naysayers that were coming on that saying, "Oh, you doing Instacart for 7 years, you're a great entrepreneur. I wouldn't take your advice." And it's like the ability for me to start. This is my fourth like valley in life. You go up, you make some money. The government shuts down your business because of COVID and doesn't let you walk in the woods and take pictures of houses. So you have to go into a grocery store full of thousands of people to learn Instacart. And and then they put tariffs in your other business. So they can't take away my skills or my people things, but this is a great way to make extra money to get a little bit of calmness. One of the friends I talked to, shout out to Tanner, shout out to Squeeze, shout out to Sumer Dog. I talked to him a little bit, and like he's working in a fast food restaurant. He's not making a ton of money. They're treating him like shit. The customers are being mean to him. It's just picture everything that you could picture.
Yeah, it's a fast food restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're working there.
I've worked. I worked at KFC before.
And they're giving him scraps, but he's got health care and some insurance and stuff. So he's like, I'm going to keep it. And then he starts doing Spark, and he's like, dude, one day I make my whole paycheck for the week. And I get to kind of do it hanging out with my brother with the windows down, listening to music and like having fun and joking around or whatever. And so if people could get some positivity in their life, and then I've had people in my neighborhood, because my neighbor across the street, across the hall, I finally got her as a customer. I knew she was a customer. Yeah. And I finally got it. We had a chit chat and I talked to her. But when I talk to these people and then I'm in my community, they're also saying, oh, I wish I could have you do my groceries all the time. And I was like, I would love to, but I don't want to commit to that because I have other stuff that I'm working on. So if you need your groceries at Wednesday every time, I can't promise that. I only turn on the app when I need to.
Yeah.
And then I've had somebody say, well, on Saturday, I need to move these rocks and I can't do it. Can I pay you? Whatever.
Yeah.
And I've been
like, different. Yeah.
And I've been like, I can't do it, but I'm going to give you my buddy's name. Come do it. My buddy Evan will do it. Cause I have a buddy that I met through wholesaling when he used to work the register when I used to scan items at his store. We became buddies. He's like, I think he just turned 20. Good kid. And, but like, I'll send him little work or whatever. Anyways, the point being is, if I wasn't working on other projects and I was making friends in that community, that could easily branch off into a handyman service, a moving service. There's a site called Dumpling where you can start your own grocery delivery service where they do the app and you keep all the money and you pay for the thing. So you do the same thing for direct customers. That's not the direction I'm going into. This is a bridge for me, but you can move this mindset from this into into an entrepreneurship, into a business atmosphere.
Nice.
Sorry. Hello. So I want to get into one other thing here. So there's some articles linked below, and I won't go into. Should probably put the articles on screen here. I won't get into all the thing. The links below to the 3 articles that I found that are discussing this, and some of them are probably a little biased because Branch App, which is an app that is kind of attached to a lot of gigs, it's attached to like US Pack and a couple of different gig apps. It's like a bank account that works with gig app companies so that you can get paid immediately. And the idea is like, if you have this app and they're connected to your Instacart, they know that money is due to you and they'll give it to you now and then Instacart pays them. Right. And it's not a loan or whatever, that you're not paying interest. You're paying like $1.99 fee in order to extract your money.
Yeah.
So they're making it like you can get it right now, and we'll help you get it right now. But anyways, these 3 articles that I wrote below kind of speak to what we were talking about with the economy and short-term decision making the other day. Is when given the way the study was done is they looked at multiple apps, and they looked at multiple apps of people doing those same apps, meaning this wasn't DoorDash people versus Instacart people versus Amazon Flex. It was a person, one guy that does Amazon Flex, DoorDash, and Instacart.
Yeah.
And what they found is this guy would make more money doing Instacart than he did DoorDash. But he would do DoorDash because he could take the money out the same day. So he would rather have $20 that same day than $40 on payday. And so
high time preference.
Yeah. So what's happening is Instacart is moved forward, over the time that this is done, and they added automatic payment withdrawals as well. And then Instacart's like $1.99, and DoorDash is like free, whatever. And still, people were like, I would rather get $20 now free than $40 and have to pay $1.99.
Yeah.
Right. So they found that people's time preference for money, that more than income, they want instant pay. That's the screenshot. So what I'm reading into this is just,
I wonder how much that would change if, the immigration laws would have, changed.
Well, here's the thing that I kind of get, right? So people are making bad decisions, but so say you need gas today, you're out of money, you're out of groceries. Yeah. They want a way to go do that, get the money, and then go buy the groceries.
Yeah. Or they want a way to, they already have their groceries covered because they have EBT. They want to go pick up the weed in 3 hours. They don't want to pick it up.
That could be, yeah.
They don't want to wait till next week to pick up, to take out their weed money.
Yeah. And I want to say, if you want to do this,
cocaine or meth or fentanyl or whatever,
you want to be a professional shopper, you need to do a couple things. You're a 1099 independent contractor. This is not accounting or financial advice, but you need to take some of that money and set it aside for car repairs. And you need to set some of that money aside for gas repairs. I think an easy way to kind of do this is I have, and maybe I should put the links below, but some digital bank accounts. If you want to make $150, I can put the current bank account, Current Bank, which is an online banking system. You can deposit money into it instantly at like DoorDash, at Dollar Tree and a bunch of other stores. You go in there, you put $100 in, and when you walk out, you have $100 in your account, cash. And it works in all major things. I use it for, and I have a business account too with Mercury, and I have a savings account. And all I do is I have multiple apps that I use. In the main apps that I use with my main money for my bills and everything, I set them up for my main checking account. And then my secondary ones that I don't use that often, but I still need the money, I have that set up to be deposited into my savings account. And you can't do an instant deposit into your savings. You need to do that into a debit checking account, right? But you can do a weekly deposit into multiple accounts, and you could do a savings. So what's happening is every time I do DoorDash, like last week, I made like 215, maybe a little over $200 in DoorDash. That went into my savings account when they deposited it to me. And so it doesn't show up as money I can spend. And I go in my Instacart and I pay my bills, and I got my Roadie comes in, my Curri comes in, my side hustles come in, my eBay goes into my business account with my Amazon stuff. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I need like new tires. Then I just go to the savings account and I say, let me transfer that into my checking, go get the tires or whatever. And then hopefully I have enough left over to that I have money that's always sitting in there for repairs, and then at the end of the year for taxes. And so you should be trying to put some away for that stuff, because what I'm worried about, because we talked about this 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now the instant money that people need, they need it now instead of tomorrow, is say you have a $10,000 car and you're putting gas into it and you're grinding it away, and at the end of every week you're getting $1,000, right? And so you think you're making $1,000.
Yeah.
But if you're spending $800 on gas and then grinding $200 of wear and tear and oil changes and tires and transmission and everything off the car, you're breaking even. All you're doing is you've bought a car and you're transporting the value of that car and you're trading it in for cash.
That's part of the reason why I haven't pursued the apps as much. Even after I need some more money, I'm like, because, since I did have such, crap luck with them before, and I'm like, I don't, and I was pretty much wasting money when I was doing it. And I'm like, this is kind of pointless, but, and it and again, depends on your area and depends on, multiple factors too. If you have a car that gets great gas mileage, and that's awesome. If
my car gets
a little
terrible
cheaper,
gas mileage, I will say it gets 18 miles to the gallon, 15 in the city.
Holy cow!
And so, it's a 2007 SUV.
Yeah.
So the orders that I pick have to be very selective, and somebody that had a newer model car could probably take better orders. But that's also something that you have to figure out. I think my DoorDash acceptance rate is got to 15%.
Yeah.
And they start with a whole new spiel of trying to get you to raise it back up. It's like changing colors now, telling me I'm at risk of whatever. It's like, I need you to watch this video on
being a good person,
performance rating, and it's like, you can't force me to do a job. So it's just it is good. I respect the hustle of them, because it does emotionally make me feel like I should be getting my rate up.
Yeah.
But logically, they cannot make me take orders.
Yeah.
The whole contract is I don't have to accept orders that make me lose money. So I'm only.
So why would I? Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, if you, one of the lies, I've said this before with a DoorDash, right? As I say, you can work anytime you want. Just turn on the app and you're going to make money. If you live in Chicago, if you live in New York City, if you live in Houston, if you live in maybe even LA, which is a lot of driving, and I think that the traffic wouldn't make it worth it there, but who knows? Then maybe that's the case. But most of the time,
you would think Denver too, but
you need to figure out, for you, without telling too many personal stuff, it's like, you would probably be best off trying to attempt DoorDash for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But then you're like, well, at dinner time, I want to spend time with my wife, so I don't want to.
A few hours a day I get to see her.
Yeah, so I lose you lose one of the three, and you lose the best one. So dinner time makes the most money on DoorDash, lunch makes the second, and breakfast makes the least. But it's the time in the morning where people delivering coffee. So for you and your lifestyle, DoorDash isn't making a lot of sense.
Especially you combine that with
one of the benefits for me not having a wife or kids, it's not a Friday night. I go out to all the family restaurants and I'm getting paid $20-$30 to deliver all the Friday night family meals. I live in a monogamous, family oriented, 1990s mindset community.
Yeah.
So I'm hitting all those restaurants. They're expecting they have money budgeted every Friday that they're going to get like whatever restaurant this is, and they're going to tip, they're going to pay this much. And so I'm, sometimes I'm doing 2-3 orders at 27, 25, 27 is usually what they come in at in an hour. And then I do get what you're saying is then I'll sit there. The reason I'm not making like, hundreds of hours, because then you'll sit there for 30 minutes without an order. And then bam, you get another 31. So I'm like, okay, that 15 minutes, now I get the 30. Now I do it. Now I'm still within my hour window, but now I might have to make like, no, decline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then Instacart, for example, Sunday morning, I get up at 6, I eat, get ready, shower, get myself mentally in the headspace, hydrate, clean my car, go get gas or whatever. Because I know first thing Sunday morning when everybody's home, a couple things happen. Other Instacart shoppers probably drink and party and they go out Saturday night. They don't want to wake up on Sunday. I'm fresh. I'm ready to go. The orders start rolling in and everybody's home and I work all Sundays. A lot of people are like, well, I want to spend time with my family on Sunday. It's a day off. It's a day of rest from the 9 to 5. That's why it's there, but that's a morning thing. Same on Monday morning. I think around 10 o'clock, the mothers wake up, they get their kids ready. Everything's ready for the day. They order their groceries for the week or whatever on Monday morning after the weekend. I go and get those. I drop them off by around like noon or 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That dies down. Then I usually turn on the DoorDash, start doing DoorDash lunch. By that time, it's medical courier time. Go do the medical courier time. That ends. I turn back on DoorDash. I do that on like Mondays and Tuesdays. By Wednesday, when I do this show, it's dead. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit in. I'm going to turn on Claude. I'm going to start coding some digital products. I'm going to figure out a YouTube SEO project. But when I lived down in Providence, it was nonstop any day. So I could go pretty much any morning from 10 to like 3 and just get grocery shopping orders all day long, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then my buddy, and just, I know I'm saying all this stuff repeat, but like just to give, maybe it'll spark something in your mind or a listener's mind. I told my buddy about Curri and how Curri was doing Curri, link in the bio, link in the description. It's nationwide now. It's not just in select areas. I told my buddy around it. He's like, I had Curri and never got any orders. I'm like, well, they're expanding and they go up pretty quickly. So he says, okay, I'll re-download it. So yesterday he's like, oh, I finally got a Curri order, but it's like $75 and I got to drive all the way up here. It's not worth it. But he's like, at least I'm getting one. And I was like, keep an eye on it. They go up really quick. And he said, okay. And then he sends me a screenshot that said accepted, and he accepted it at $225.
Yo!
And he's like, you're right. And so he's like,
3 times, dude.
Yeah. He's like, but it's 2 hours of driving. And so he's like, yeah, grab yourself a treat, put on a podcast, enjoy your day. You're just driving.
Yeah.
And he, good morning, Ambrose. You are the only one watching right now, but earlier this morning, we had a couple people stop by. It's a rough time. It's 9 a.m. on a Wednesday.
Yes. It was a great decision that I suggested.
We can change it again.
I know.
Yeah. But anyways, but he ended up doing a 2-hour drive, just settling in. Then you have to pay gas afterwards for $225. And I said, I'll give you guys a little tip with Curri. I don't even know if I should say this on air. Okay, let me phrase this properly. So, when you sign a Curri contract, one of the parts of the contract that you sign is there may be a return trip involved. And when you sign that contract, if you read it, it also says all trips can be negotiated. So if you go to a customer's house that's 2 hours away or an hour away and you get paid $200 to do that, and one of the products is incorrect, and they ask you if you can return it for them, it would be in your best interest to say, yes, I can return this for you. Now, you do have to get on the chat with customer service and negotiate a return price. But I've had multiple orders where it was like less than 20 minutes away and they were giving me $50. And I get it there and the guy's like, oh, these are all right, but this is wrong. Can you return it? And I was like, yeah, give me a minute. I get on chat and I say, hey, this is wrong. They need me to bring it back to Home Depot. I just got paid 48 whatever to come here. So if you guys want to pay me 48 to go back, I can return it. If not, no big deal. You guys can send somebody back out. What would you like to do? And they're like, 1 second. And then they add a third trip to the thing. You put it back in your car, you drive back to Home Depot, and they pay you the $48.71 again. So when he said to me, oh, what percentage of, so this is where you guys got to read between the lines. When my buddy said, oh, there's returns. He says, oh, actually, let me read right from what I said.
From the tomes.
Yeah, let me go to the digital tomes here. So he said, holy shit, they bumped it up to $225. So I took it and I said, yeah, they 4X in price pretty quickly. So keep an eye on them. He's like, it's a long drive. And I said, grab yourself a treat, put on a good podcast, just enjoy yourself. And they typically pay in 24 hours. So you're going to get paid tomorrow. And I said, and if you have a return trip, negotiate the same price on the way back and you'll make an additional $225. And I said, typically they give you 70 to 100% for return, 75% to 100%. Said, how often do they give you return trips? And I said, as often as possible, winky face. Basically, it's like, the idea is if you can finagle a return trip, then finagle a return trip because they have to pay you for it. And if the customer is asking you to return something, you don't want to be like, no. You want to be like, not a problem, sir. I'll return this for you. Let me just get on.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see what I can do for you. I will be the one to speak with the chat for you. No worries. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll take care of it for you.
And I've doubled the stuff. So I had like an order. So there's like there's a Manchester, New Hampshire, which is a major city, is about 35 minutes south of me. Then we have a secondary community above me, which is like not quite where Lake Winnipesaukee is. If you guys are familiar with New Hampshire at all, we have like, you've seen that it's a hat-shaped wizard. It looks like a wizard's cap. And we have, we have all the grand wizard's hat. And we have like all the, we have like a Massachusetts style community across the border of Massachusetts. Then you get up the central. Then there's a lake community where we have Lake Winnipesaukee, and then right next to that is a huge mountain community where we have the Great White Mountains.
Oh, and, right next to the wizard.
Yeah, and then above that is like extremely rural. I forget what I was going to. Sorry. What was I talking about with the trip? Oh, and so right above me, underneath the lake community, is another kind of big area. Like Laconia, where they had the big the bike week, not bicycles, but like motorcycle hogs and Harley week. Near Ware Beach, and then they have like Tilton or whatever. So that is kind of like more populated where I live, even though I live outside the capital. The capital is very quaint. If you ever come to New Hampshire, visit Concord, very quaint. I'll actually give you guys some 4th of July advice after this. But anyways, that community up there is really good shopping. and it's only like 17 minutes away from me compared to 35 down to Manchester, and they have about the same amount of orders. So a lot of times I will go up, but I would say most of the orders bring you from that area over to the lake, because the rich people at the lake for the summer need the delivery services. Sometimes their driving is too far that it does once you get. Anyways, I'll see orders up there. I'll keep an eye on them. And I had one that was at Home Depot. It was a 1 mile drive to drop off these bags of pebbles for like a Rockway, and it was $12. And that was at 4:30 when I was going to pick up the medical courier stuff. And I was like, I'm not driving 17 miles north to drive 1 mile for $12, but I'll keep an eye on it, because when I do the storage unit, I'm actually a little bit closer to that area. So I finished the storage unit and I opened that up, and this isn't like an hour and 15 minutes later. And it's at $75. So I was like, I guess I'll drive up there and do it. So I drove up there. I went there. I got the rocks. They weren't even like 35-pound bags of rocks. They were like these little like pebble, like colored pebble rocks. They were like a child could carry them. I threw them in my car. I drove to the person's house. I put them on the steps. I took the picture, and I was like, this kind of feels like stealing. And then I drove home. The round trip took me about an hour to like go up there, do the delivery. The longest, I mean, the drive was the longest part, but the longest part after that is when you're doing a Roadie, and I got to remember to talk to about Roadie. When you're doing Curri or Roadie or whatever, and you're dealing with companies where you have to deal with people, you have to allot some time for dealing with people. So like when you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Home Depot, pick this up and whatever, it'll take me 20 minutes to get to Home Depot. It's like, no, it's also going to take you at least 10 minutes in Home Depot. You're going to wait in the information line.
Yeah.
You're going to have, the person's going to want to talk to you. There might be confusion. Maybe they can't find it, or they didn't pick the order. So that extra time is going to eat into your hourly.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that it's a high enough rate that you give yourself some smuck insurance.
Yeah.
through the experience.
Yeah.
Why I like shopping is because I go in, I do the shop, and then sometimes you get a delay in checkout, especially if a big order, you can't do self-checkout or you can't do the express lane, which is most orders. So you have to allow for that while you're in line. Now with Instacart, they do bake that into your per item thing. So keep an eye on your per item. So you might be picking items at 30 seconds a pop, but when you are in stores that are busy and have long waits in the line, your actual per item might be like 80 seconds, because it's from when you start shopping to when you check out divided by the number of items gives you your average. And then you got to pack in the thing, and then you got to put the cart back in the whatever. And then you got to go, like here on a Sunday, the other day I was like going to pull out of a spot, and then somebody else starts pulling out of there and almost rear ends me. So I have to like pull back into my spot. And then this person walks behind me, my car, to get into their car, and they get into their car and they saw my lights to go in reverse, and they get in their car. And then I'm waiting for somebody else to get out of their spot. And then I go to back out, and the person that walked behind my car like almost hits me pulling out. But like, you've seen me trying to get out of my, so you have to take a deep breath and
I know I'm in
New Hampshire. It's mostly misogynistic things that I say. It's women typically that I'm dodging in the parking lot. It is a female dominated industry. I have a video on TikTok that's going, I guess do you want to, I don't know if you want to keep talking about this or not, or we can get into eBay, but there's a trend on TikTok right now where women customers and clients are posting shopping stuff And it started off as probably some truth to it, and now it's become a trend. So I think there's a lot of fakers in it for the likes.
Yeah.
But it's called male Instacart shopper, and basically they're saying like the worst part about Instacart is getting male Instacart shoppers. And I made a video that's getting a lot of traction for me, basically debunking the whole thing and explaining like you're telling on yourself, because I explain like, first of all, the best shoppers on Instacart are male, but also the worst shoppers on Instacart are male. And the average to above average are females. And when an order comes in, all the top shoppers, which are males, look at it. And if it's worth their while, they take it. And if it's not, it goes down to the platinum, which is mostly women and decent male things. And then if they don't take it, it goes down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And it goes to mostly male,
to the retarded guys
that aren't doing very well. And so when you're saying male Instacart shoppers are the worst, what you're saying really is I'm a bad tipper and I'm tough to deal with.
Yeah.
And all the good shoppers don't take my orders and they block me. You know what I mean? So like if you're constantly getting a bad shopper, it's because you're a bad customer, because Instacart is one of the few platforms that rewards good customers with good shoppers, and it kind of pairs bad people with bad people. Hey, good morning, Indian.
Good morning, Indian.
I'll tell you right now. So Indian, I mean, there is some nuance to it because like
I was going to say what you're saying is basically just this chart.
Yeah. I actually, I mean, we can pull the video up. I actually briefly mentioned that. Let me see if I can find this here. Let's go to my social media. Dude, I'm basically a TikTok star, so I mean, let's go.
No, but it's funny you were saying the best Instacart shoppers are men.
No, I do bring up IQ. I bring up IQ in.
I was like, that's exactly the thing.
Let's see. Can you hear this? Can you hear volume or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So actually, this is a good. All right, let me break this down a little bit because. So first of all, what I'm doing here is a double visual and a verbal hook to start the Instacart. I mean, to start the TikTok out before you guys start making fun of me doing this thing. So the double visual is the Instacart male shoppers here. So that catches the eye. And then me grabbing my beard and doing this like woman in distress thing. So this is a psychological strategy to stop somebody from scrolling. So it's called this is a double visual hook. And then I'm doing one verbal hook, which is the voice change thing. So you're scrolling through all the people, and this is going to trigger a psychological response for you to stop. And
also because it's you know, the visual and the audio doesn't match. You're like, what's happening here?
So also
even without
when the rock is the tooth. When the rock is the tooth. When the rock is the tooth fairy, people are like, what? Why is this big, masculine, muscular dude got a tutu on? And like the juxtaposition. Yeah. So, I mean, this has been getting, for me, this is really good. Let me see what my analytics are. I can't pull them up on the piece. The phone is really good for TikTok, and the PC.
So in that second comment there, not enough people.
Is that so crazy to
So with this particular video, I've gotten 2,700 views, 12 reshares, 14 saves, 46 comments, 137 likes for a 51-year-old guy in a niche making this in the car. That's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
I know if like in the scheme of things, you're like Mr. Beast gets a billion views, but like if anybody's making TikTok videos out here and they're most of you guys will realize until you kind of crack the code, you're going to get between 50 and 100 views. So this is for the number of followers I have, which is about 5,000. this is definitely a top 10%, but this is probably a top 1% video for similar accounts. Whatever. So anyways, I'm starting off with a double visual hook, or maybe a triple, but one is the read. It scrolls to the eyes. And then the second one is,
you got the captions in there too.
Bearded man doing a girly voice.
Yeah.
Woman in distress. So here we go.
Shopper. Oh, we got a real Instacart shopper. Oh.
You're telling on yourself. If you're complaining about male Instacart shoppers, I got news for you. So before I start, my name is... Okay, so now the part of the strategy here is it's called the open loop. So now you want to hear about male Instacart shoppers. It's a trend. You've stopped. I tell you that I'm going to tell you about that. Let me talk about, and then I'm like, but first, and
it's the essay opening paragraph.
Yes. So the loop is open, and you're interested. You want to hear about this thing, and now I give my plugs and I tell you who I am. So I did this a little bit wrong, but now it's my chance to give you a little bit of authority. Like, why should you listen to me? You don't know me. You just... So now I'm going to go into the authority aspect of why you need to listen to now that I've like emotionally captured you. Now I have to kind of give you a reason to stick around. So this is me taking authority of the video. This has been a very cool process to learn. I'm sure you have a psychological background from work or whatever. So I think you'll find this interesting. And it's crazy because, like,
when you were talking before about okay, this is the hook. I'm like, you're just like, I took some psychology classes, and I took the most you could in high school, and then the AP Psych, and then also some in college.
Yeah,
never got my college degree, but and then I worked at a psych hospital for like 5 years, and so there are some things about just behavioral reinforcement that are just like they were just like everyday terms, or it's like, oh yes, this is how you do it, and then at on the unit. And then slowly I realized, because instantly I realized how it applied to everyday life, but slowly I realized just how embedded these things are, like in, the psychology of marketing. Then that's, when I really, I already knew the government was, on this level, but, and then seeing the exact process, in which how, basically the revelations of MK Ultra help shape the modern media landscape, and now people are saying things like, now you got to have the hook because, and then but I noticed the thing, like the thing I pointed out, you doing the high pitched voice with the it's something that grabs you, that isn't even necessarily it doesn't even have to have any words in general. You're having a snarky voice. You're in a the voice, the pitch of the voice doesn't match the image. It's one thing I realized, like, I think it was like probably 50, I don't know, probably about 11 to 12 years ago or so, the first time I tripped on acid, about 13 years ago, I think. But that I was like, oh, you could go up to anybody, and if you approach someone like no words, you just go they're gonna be like, the hell is this guy doing, like but if you go up to someone, hey, also no words, you're just approaching it a certain, and you go and snarky, people be like, oh, either yes, roast those women, or instantly defensive, let me see how I can make an angry comment debunking everything you're saying. So either way, it's one of those any attention is good attention things, because it's a higher, that specific tone is a higher, you could say higher risk, because it's not like saying, oh, let me come and blah 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 blah, let me be totally logical, and I'm really nervous about people saying anything about my emotional state, you're approaching it from a theatrical point of view, which again, it's the the modern, I mean, not to say, but it's almost a some would say a Trumpian,
Well, the
way
thing
of getting
for,
the attention,
fun for me is I'm doing the videos. They are fun, and I'm helping
Yeah.
people. And now I'm actually getting to interact like Socrates did in the marketplace. Like,
Yeah.
and when I was, I'm just completely dry, I wasn't getting as much interaction. But also through this learning process, it's helped me because now when I watch videos, I see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
So it helps you when you learn this stuff to not be sold to as well. So now when I go watch a video, it's like, oh, that's good. This lady's good. I like that hook. Oh, she did a double hook without, oh, she's triple. So to me, I actually get frustrated and have to turn it off sometimes because I'm sure you've seen these videos where
you're like seeing the patterns instead of seeing the content.
they start doing a video, right? And they say like, I'm going to teach you about whatever. And they start going and they start and they never close this loop and they keep dragging. It's like, you could just tell me the thing, but you keep saying, and the reason you need infomercials do this a lot where they're like,
yes.
And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to emotionally get you hooked. Like, oh, you can, and then you're like, okay, well, now I have sunken time fallacy. I've been 15 minutes deep. I got to wait for the answer. And then another 15 minutes goes. I'm like, wow, now I'm 30 minutes deep. Where's this answer? So I shut them off now because I kind of like see the spice. So you got to kind of like change it. But anyways, so now I'm going to do an authority.
Sometimes how I feel like talking to AI is.
Now I'm going to do an authority grab. So now I've done the hook. I've got the people here. I've given them a little elevator pitch about what they're going to see. They're like, oh, I do want to see that. And then I don't close that loop and tell them now that I got their attention, I'm going to say, okay, here's also why you should stick around. Here's an authority appeal to authority. Why should you even care that I'm going to tell you about this? Oh, and then the other thing too is I'm a fish in water. So right now I'm saying that I'm a Instacart shopper that I've been doing this for 7 years. Where do you see Instacart shoppers? You either see an Instacart shopper shopping in a grocery store or in their car. Now, if I'm making this video, in the background is my bedroom, or the background is like a casino, or the background is a hotel room in Thailand, or I'm in Trump Plaza in the penthouse.
Yeah, if you're on the beach.
I'm out of water. So mentally, they're going to say, what the fuck does this guy know about Instacart? He's in the Trump Towers. Or what is this guy? He's in Thailand.
He's in Spain.
States. So I'm a fish in water. I'm in a vehicle, which is or a grocery store, which is where Instacart shoppers would be. So everything that you're viewing here makes sense on a emotional level. It doesn't seem like it's called a fish.
Yeah,
it's called a fish in water, or a fish out of water. And I could probably say these same exact words, make the same exact script, and if I did this in my kitchen, it might not have gotten the same traction, because especially if you're an Instacart driver and you're looking through Instacart stuff and you're in your car, as soon as you see another person in your car talking to you, you're like, oh, this is just like me.
Yeah.
Type scenario.
Yeah. You're like, I mean, well, it's like with I need to get back more into it, but like when I watch the reseller thrift store ones, it's like, hey, look, you're on the, and it's funny. It's like I can also tell that the people have found some people doing the videos that are crappier at doing these, thrift store reselling ones. They're, they do make them more baity, because you're like, oh, look, you are in the thrift store. Ooh, that's the jewelry rack. Let's see what you grabbed. There's some of the guys that are like, look at this one, check out, look at this, hidden silver gold stamp here, or look at this, this specific, David Yurman, maker's mark. You're going to want to look out for this. Judith Ripka, you're going to want to look out for that. They're silver, but if they're only selling it for even just the silver weight, you can still resell it for a higher, very specific things. And then there's other ones where, it's, you click on it because you see, oh, look, you're in the thrift store. And then they just grab a piece of jewelry and like turn it over. It's like, what are you doing with that? You're not doing anything with it. You did that. And that's the whole reel. They're just like, look at that. And then it's like, okay, cool. You tricked me because you use the
Well,
same
that's what I'm
tactics
saying. Now
without
that
saying
you can like
anything of,
spot it, like you can save yourself a lot of time in scroll. There's actually a whole trend now of people watching those videos that don't have closed loops, and they show the beginning part and they fast forward and like, it's this. The water's blue.
Yeah.
Glass breaks. $35, and they just fast forward.
Go down to the comments.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's go to let's Indians in the chat today. He said, "Yeah, women always grab their beards." Dave, back from when I was saying like,
women.
So here's the appeal to authority in this video, and we don't have to go too deep, but I think this stuff's interesting. So, is Dave Wright? I've been an Instacart shopper. So here's the last thing that I'll say. So they teach you to, the other thing that you're going to do in your videos is when you're on YouTube, you say, hey guys, hey everybody, hey, welcome to the show, everyone. Yeah. And people are watching it like it's a show, like it's a broadcast, and there's a community involved, and they recognize that there's a community involved. TikTok is a vertical thing where you're making eye contact, where you want to, they call it besties and best friends or whatever on the thing, because the idea is when I'm doing this video, if you know, I try to do it and maybe I messed up. As I get better, I'll be better at it. Is I'm not saying you guys or they or whatever. Notice in the beginning, I said, you're telling on yourself. You're telling on yourself. You're talking to one individual that's watching the thing, you like, and they're having an intimate connection with one person, and you're talking to. So you want to try to change your language if you're doing TikTok to a singular person. Hey, you are telling on yourself. You're doing this. One thing that you can do is, and instead of like, hey guys, try this, it's I saw your video. I know you're working hard at this, but instead of, hey guys, I know you're working hard on your videos, it's like, no, it's an intimate thing. And the other thing, back to the fish out of the water, because I've mentioned this to some like New York comedians, is like those walking joke videos where people are like walking and telling a joke, right?
Yeah.
And I was saying like, hey, you're making videos in your house, or you're making videos with a white wall behind you. If you're not embarrassed, you should make those videos walking in the streets of New York, looking at the camera, or the streets of LA or whatever.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's the fish out of water thing again. Yeah. If you're like, hey, I'm a New York comedian, I'm New York comedian Dave Wright, and I'm telling you a joke, and you see New York flashing in the background, it's like, oh, who is this guy? He's living in New York. He's probably on the way to the club right now because he's this famous comedian guy.
It's like, dude, I wonder if he's going to say this bit on stage tonight. Like, oh, going to where is he going to the cellar? Oh, I think, oh, look at that. Oh, that's around that whatever corner. Yeah. Blah blah blah. I recognize that. Blah blah blah. So especially if you live in New York too, then it's like, oh, okay. This guy's he was right around the corner from me. Cool, awesome. Let me go check. What are his dates? Oh, I got a free night tonight. Oh, damn, he's there. Cool.
And it can be anything. So like for you, I know you're covering it up right now for the show or whatever, but I know you have like a lot of eBay stuff that you're listing and putting online or whatever.
What are you talking about? I'm coming at you live from Agartha.
When you're making TikToks, I would highly suggest not to cover up. I would highly suggest to show all the stuff in the background, because you're the fish in the water. I'm the eBay seller, and here's the proof. Look at all this stuff.
Look at all this disorganized crap behind me.
No, but that's the thing. If you're
but for real
eBay seller, like I have the same thing when you go into my living room, is all this merchandise that I got sitting around. So like if I were to show a clean, tidy living room with no stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm going through my eBay stuff. It's like, well, I've been selling eBay for 2 years and my house is a wreck. So you must not know eBay because your house is too clean. So like you're a fish out of water. It'd be like doing like, hey everybody, I'm going to teach you like here me and my kids, and then you show your house and it's like spotless. It's like, wait, you have kids? How come your house is spotless? Like it doesn't make any sense. Anyways, yeah. So there's some just more examples of fish out of water. So let me get back into this here.
For 7 years now, on and off, and I teach people how to quit their W-2 job, become independent contractors, and hopefully become entrepreneurs. You can find all my material in the link in the bio. But I want to talk about this trend of picking on male Instacart shoppers.
So again, sorry to stop it every 2 seconds, but double visual hook or maybe triple visual hook with the captions, and then the verbal hook, the appeal to authority, fish in the water. The loop started, didn't close the loop, so now you're hung. Now we're back to, okay, he's about to close the loop for me so I can get closure on this video. And so now people are going to be like, this is what I've been waiting for, and I've got their attention for 40 seconds, hopefully. And from the algorithm and from the amount of attention, that seems to be the case.
So this is going to make a couple of people butt hurt. That's fine. I know even the ladies that shop Instacart are going to agree with me on this. So stay tuned.
All right. So again, open the loop, close the loop. Now I'm saying, if I mentioned multiple type of people there, then this is the point where they're going to be like, oh, that's me. Yes, I'm going to stick around. Oh,
Even
yeah.
the ladies agree with me.
Oh, really? Yeah. Like, so he's like, oh, I'm going to trash the women.
I'm going to trash women, and women are going to agree with me.
And,
I'm definitely.
No, but that's not even what I'm saying. I'm like, so the whole male Instacart shopper thing is assume that it's like trashing men. So that I'm obviously going to trash ladies, but I'm saying, hey, if you're doing this, you know this. Even if you're a woman Instacart shopper, you're going to agree. So now it's like, everybody's like, oh, that's me.
Well, let's watch
this. I got to hear. And like, so this guy's going to agree, and I'm a lady. And if ladies agree, I need to. So now you're still having the individual talk with the person, but you're also doing a social thing. And I know this sounds like it sounds kind of scummy when you break it down like this, but I just wanted you guys to know this is what I've been doing since February, is learning kind of like the psychology of sales and mental things. But to me, it's kind of like when people are like, oh,
Edward Bernays method.
You found an item at the thrift shop and you're raising the price, you're scummy. And it's like, well, this people want it, and that's the value I add. And I'm trying to get to teach people how to do Instacart and learn stuff. Yeah. And so if you're just dull and boring and you don't use these things, they never get the information. So it's like, well, I'm not lying to anybody. I'm just using particular techniques so that I can get you to listen and be enthralled. So anyways, yeah.
Well, it's the same thing that like literally anybody does to get attention for anything. If it's like, hey, listen to me so I can help. It's like, sure, will it benefit me because my goal is to get monetized on here? Yes, obviously that's why I'm doing it. But also, like to your point, I remember before when we were talking about TikTok months ago, it's like, all right, how do you actually add value? How do you increase value? Yeah. Do something, produce content of real value to people. And part of that is, the stuff you're doing. Like you said, okay, am I using these, what basically amounts to psychological manipulation tactics to get attention? Yes, obviously, because everybody's doing them. But also, it's like, hey, let me manipulate your attention so that I can teach you how to make money for yourself.
Manipulation is a tough word because it has kind of has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah, well, no, and that's why I'm saying.
When I would say like, I just want to say like, people want this. Like, if you don't give them this, then they don't stick around.
You could say that good music.
You can be like, oh, you're manipulating people, but it's also like, well, this is what they want, because if you don't do this, you don't get the views. And so I'm trying to like show you what people enjoy for some reason.
Well, and I was going to say, it's the same degree of psychological manipulation, i.e. using psychological tools and tricks and stuff like that to get people's. It's the same thing as making a good song and being like, oh, haha, I successfully tricked everyone into listening to my music. It's like, no, you wrote a good song, but also, yes, you did trick people into listening to your music if you skillfully wrote a good song.
I just want to kind of
correct.
Yeah, as a philosopher, it's gonna itch my brain if I don't scratch this. But I just want to say, like, as I'm explaining these things, I'm not explaining them in a way where it's like a manipulation technique that you have to use. I'm explaining them in a way that, like, this is kind of ingrained in us, where if people want continuity. So, like, if you're trying to teach them how to swim, you should probably be in a pool. And if you're teaching them how to do Instacart, you should probably be in a car. Yeah. And yes, it has a psychological effect, but the idea is, like, it doesn't matter what background you're going to use. Yeah. So you should probably use the background that goes best with the one that makes people feel comfortable to watch your material.
Also, the difference is it's genuine and not contrived. You're actually doing that. You're there.
And then people don't want their time wasted, so they need to get the hook. So the hook is you can look at, I'm trying to hook them in or whatever. But it's also like you're trying not to waste their time. So you're doing the elevator pitch. Like, I'm telling you straight up, this is about Instacart mail shoppers. If you're not interested, if when you see that, move on. And if you are interested in, stick around. And then, a ton of people are talking about male Instacart shoppers.
So it's going to be.
Why should I talk about you? It's like, oh, this guy's kind of funny. He's doing this stupid thing. Okay, maybe I will listen to this guy and see he's entertaining. I could use him. So it's like I would prefer that people kind of look at this as not like a abusive tactic where you were hijacking people. Yeah, as much as it is recognizing some different strategies, and it's beneficial to both people to tell them what you're doing upright. Explain to them why. Let me
emphasize, when I say manipulation, I am meaning that from just using psychological, just knowledge of how to.
No, I get that.
It's the same degree of like when we were at the, technically the therapists were using psychological manipulation to get the kids to stop hurting themselves and to stop being suicidal and to focus and do good things. And that's also psychological manipulation. But you wouldn't say, you want to be like, those evil therapists using positive reinforcement to help a child focus on his studies, because he's actually really he's a great writer, and if he really just focused, maybe he has an interest in
I wasn't trying to attack you. I was just trying to make it.
No, and I want to make it
like, it's always economically like compared to what. So it's like somebody's like, oh, manipulation's bad, and it's like, well, if the other option is using force, I'm going to point a gun at you, or you do it, versus manipulation. Is manipulation still bad? And it's manipulation's good. It's like, okay, well, I have information for you that you're not going to watch unless I pique your interest. Should I pique your interest or not pique your interest? Yeah. And so I'm a denotation versus connotation type guy. I want to say for the viewers, when try not to put any emotional attachment on the word manipulation or sales or whatever.
Think about it this way. We're about to celebrate the anniversary of a handful of farmers manipulating an entire frontier into rebelling against its mother nation, and then that created the United States of America. They emotionally manipulated the people. And this is what they use: tactics, logic, reason, and appeal to freedom, appeal to individuality, yada yada. Thomas Paine, rights of man, all that stuff. They used all those things to get individuals riled up against the government. That's
my thing. Is I think I think that sometimes the word fraud and manipulation get changed interchangeably.
Manipulation.
There's nothing fraudulent about this.
No.
Everything that I say in here Yeah, so
is
I think
100%
sometimes people
real.
hear manipulation and they hear fraud, like, oh, he's
Yeah.
yeah. So that's all I wanted to.
And I feel like there's also maybe in my lexicon a bit of sarcasm attached to manipulation as well, because it was more popular around 5-8 years ago or so, but like women, I'm being manipulated, and then like they post these long things on Reddit, and it's actually them being insane, and then the dude just being like, hey, I'm trying to live a life here.
I understood your point of view. I was more talking to anybody that we do have 50 to 100 viewers that tune in and watch this show every week. So I want to
let me just tell you, maybe magic would be, you're not using manipulation, you're using magic. I
just want to make sure that anybody listening doesn't attach
negative connotation to
attach the word fraud to it. So the fraud is when you lie about something to get like a sale or whatever. And a lot of people kind of associate manipulation and fraud. Like if I said
we're simply aware of psychology in order to convey a message.
Yeah. So if I say to somebody like, I'm tall and I want to hang out, and they're like, oh, how tall are you? And I say, oh, I'm 6'4". Saying I'm 6'4" is fraudulent, but saying that I'm tall is manipulation.
Yeah.
It's true. I am taller than average,
but even the tall,
think they want somebody tall. So I'm using that to manipulate them to hang out, but I'm not lying about it, which puts it into a fraud category. Yeah, where they're like, wait a minute, you told me you were 6'4" and you're 5'11", and it's like, well, I said I was tall.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know if that's the best.
Oh, I mean, I would say that's even one. Not to get into the etymology of, how I define it, but I would say that's even one step further. For me, it would be like manipulation. Would just be like, okay, like the psychological, the even good, just being aware of, like psychology would be like, when I would be at a customers, when I used to do pest control, and like if I treating someone's house, then I'm like, oh crap, man, I found some carpenter ants on this tree back here. It's not against the house, fortunately, but this is something that customers, if I approach them and I was like, I got some bad news, I found some carpenter ants back in that tree back there, they'd be like, carpenter ants? What are they? I'd be like, you really don't want them to get close to the house because they could destroy. That's a way to make people freak out. But you don't have to do that, because if they're nowhere near the house, but whatever, like in that situation, for example, you'd be like, oh, look, I found these carpenter ants. Okay, they seem far enough away. I think I'll treat this specifically, put some bait there, put bait all around it to make sure that they don't get near the house. Then you talk to the customer. Hey, just want to let you know, by the way, I did find some, I'm not sure you may have seen already. I saw some carpenter ants back in the tree back there. Went ahead, treated it real good for you, put bait all around, made sure that they wouldn't come up to your house. So I went ahead, took her. That's what I would call manipulation, but also maybe that's just me being autistic and, you can
go right back to the beginning of the thing when I was joking around. Is like
the attitude, yeah, exactly.
Hello is manipulation. It's saying, hey, I'm about to come in. You have no idea who I am, but I'm going to go, hello. And this is going to manipulate you into believing that I'm good. Now that could be correct or it could be incorrect. But I'm
putting the good intention as well behind it.
Yeah, I'm trying to manipulate you for a second into knowing that I'm good and you're safe, so I can deliver you.
But I'm also genuinely trying to do that as well. I'm not doing it as a mask.
The difference is
I'm being aware and trying to make it part of my personality.
The intent of it is so like, if the carpenter ants aren't dangerous and you're like, okay, I'm gonna sell them something. And so I need to make them feel bad to sell them something. So that is where
those are the two differences.
The line in these TikTok videos, and why I spent some time on this for you guys to watch, and why I was saying it was important to learn, is because these manipulation tactics can turn into fraud tactics as you watch this stuff. So people will start lying to you about the product or stretching the truth in order to get you to sell. And if you learn what I was just saying and you can start watching it, you can hopefully intercept yourself from being taken advantage of and then actually going in and watching it. And then if you go to my other channel, Dave Wright the Thinker, and I got to do some more videos on there. Like I talked about this months and months ago about AI, even on my cross country trip in 2023, before all the hoopla with AI. And I talked about this in some videos, is when you're typing into a chat and you say, hey, what's the best camera for me to make YouTube videos? What you're going to get is the company that owns the chat business, if they have a sales contract with a camera, you're going to get that as the response, as the best, because that's that's not an objective. The best for what compared to what? And then if you just say what's the best, go on Google, it's just going to get the people that paid for the sponsored ads on Google. And the chat does
have
not
all the blogs with people with affiliate links that are getting paid to.
Yeah, the chat's not intelligent. Artificial intelligence, and I also talk about in this video, is such a bad name, and people don't understand it. So it'll just be that. So what you want to do, or what I would suggest to do, and maybe I've already talked about this before, is you want, and I'm using the camera example as I've used before, is you want to say, hey, Google, what are the top 100, say, requirements for YouTube? Or what are the stats for YouTube for making videos or live streaming? What's the minimum requirements? And it'll go and it's like, oh, great, thank you. Hey, can you bring up every camera that you can find online that fits those minimum requirements for me, please? And then, okay, perfect. Now we have these two. I'm a new YouTuber and my budget is blah, blah, blah. What do you think were the first features that I should get rid of if I don't need them? And it'll come back to you. And so now what you're doing is you're having it be a research agent and you're looking at the data.
Yeah.
And whatever. So last night for dinner.
And you're not it's not the end all processor of the data. You're like, okay, all right. And then you're taking the final step to make decisions, which is, the good thing to do with it, rather than treating it like a therapist, or, because that's like on the opposite end of you're you're having it make, seemingly putting off decisions for your entire life onto something that's, scouring Reddit, am I the asshole, for your answers to your questions, anyway.
Yeah, I have what was I going to say?
Sorry.
No. So last night for when I was sitting down to eat dinner, I was like, okay, I gotta start. They want to put a data center in New Hampshire, up near the White Mountains. Yeah, because there's like a lot of water up there, and it's cool, and it would bring income to the state, so we wouldn't have. It would solve some of the property tax issues. So I was like, I got to start doing this. There's one in Utah or whatever. So I started doing the research, right? And I mentioned a little bit, and I reached out to some people, and everybody's like, oh, they're bad because of this. They're bad because of that. They did this. And it's like, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, didn't you get about this? And I was like, dude, I just started the research, 45 minutes. I've only learned about the Earth's water right now. And they're like, what? It's like, well, I was just doing the research on water. I didn't even know about water. Like most of the Earth's water, we only use about 1% or less of the fresh water in our daily things to drink or whatever. A lot of it's ocean water, a lot of it's frozen glacier water. And then of the water that is usable, most of it's going towards agriculture and all this. So we only use like less than 1%. And then of that, the data centers want to use less than 0.03% of that 1% in a closed circuit that cools it. And then there's evaporation. So it still goes back into the atmosphere. And so it's going to slow down the evaporation phase, but they're going to be taking like 0.0007% of the Earth's complete water supply for whatever. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that we were only using less than 1% of the Earth's water as humans. So like I have to get that data. And so like I'm using, and so I think people think that like people like, oh, I typed into Grok, are data centers good? And it said no, or they said yes. So I researched it, and it's like, and then when you tell them, well, I took me 45 minutes just to learn about water. I'm going to start doing the water versus wildlife research tomorrow. And then I'll go through like, I don't know how many nights of dinner this is going to take me to understand data centers, but then I'll finish that, and then I'll go online and I'll start talking to people about data centers. And they'd be like, no, that's wrong. It's like, well, have you done the research? And like, yes. And it's like, okay, then you know this. And then they just get angry. And it's like, well, you haven't done the research, because it's actually pretty grueling research.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? But I also know when I'm done that most people don't like these type of activities. This is not what they would spend their free time at dinner doing. And
then also there's people like me that I'm at the point I'm like, man, I also see what they represent, which is, if you look at the people who own the data centers, I don't want those people having a lot of, buying up property and investing, and having control over America.
Well, here's another thing. I didn't get into all of this. I didn't get into all this yet, but like, that's another
the Kids Act, and now they're gonna be surveilling everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of a Luddite at this point.
I didn't get into all that yet, so I don't know how to speak on that. But I will say is like, when the media talks about all this stuff, right?
Yeah,
the media always like they manipulate and they propagandize.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful, because sometimes when like we agree with the media and the propagandized stuff, we're like, okay, this is the one time they're not propagandizing these people because whatever. So for me, I did look into some of the ownership, because we have mixed stuff going on here in New Hampshire. And we got like Jeremy Kaufman is saying they're good, and we got to other people saying they're bad. And so I was like, okay, why? There's a disagreement.
I saw people saying this is all Chinese propaganda.
So there is
data centers are
like,
bad.
there is people like Sam Altman that obviously need data centers or whatever. And then there's people like Kevin O'Leary that wants to do stuff in Utah for the data centers and in the desert, whatever. But then I looked at there's about the world, and there's already tons of data centers everywhere that are somewhat decentralized and owned by different companies and people. And some of them are even owned, like Alaska's thinking about making one that they would own and have the rights to for the people, similar to the oil. So it's like, oh, well, they're not, and again, I don't know the full story, and I don't want to get like I'm supporting the data centers, but like it's like them kept saying, oh, Elon's a trillionaire, he's got all your money or whatever. It's like, well, there's thousands of other families and people on the planet that already have $1 trillion. Why is Elon the one that's being attacked?
Yeah.
And so, but if you see that every day, you start believing it. So I don't know what the answer is. I just started some research, but even if I end up, I don't know what the end all be all would be, but I will say I had a pretty fun 45 minutes learning about water yesterday. I was very I mean, I just didn't think about it. It makes a lot of sense. Like, so just to get into a little briefing of it, like if you guys are into science, and you guys can check this out and do some research on your own, and you kind of like understand this stuff, but you kind of forget about it because your life goes on and you got more important things. But like the earth is a closed circuit for the most part, and water is finite. And we get more water once in a great, great while that hitches a ride from meteorites and asteroids and stuff that has ice on it that crashes into the planet. And then that becomes water into our thing. And so when people are like, oh, I can't get drinking water and I'm starving, and all the corporations are buying up all the water and they own everything and they're going to put it into these things and something like, man, that sounds scary. And it feels like there's, it's a finite resource, and it's like, oh crap, it is a finite resource. And then you look into it and it's like, oh, we're only using like less than 1% of water for drinking. So it's like there's a whole nother 99% of water on the planet. So it is finite, but we're using such a small portion of it that that there's plenty of it to go around.
The other issue is about thinking about it like that, though, is kind of the same way of people saying that Elon's like a trillionaire and there's plenty of money why doesn't he just there's plenty of money to go around. It's because it's in specific areas, and then some areas there's a lot less water, like the American West, especially the Southwest with there's we're constantly in a state of drought down here because of
but that is
divided up the Colorado River.
Not because of the lack of water. That's because of the government control of
exactly, the manage. But when there's when there's things like that, then it's like okay, so what do you I guess what do I say? What do you think the answer will be for people? People have concerns about water usage by data centers. What do you think the government response to it's going to be?
No, I don't disagree that the government and the corporations are in cahoots together and they want to control everything.
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to look something a lot more like
starts controlling hammers,
worldwide American Southwest fighting over the Colorado River.
Yeah, but prior to all that, I need anything the government gets involved with is bad. But that doesn't mean if the government starts making hammers, the hammer is still not bad. It's that the government stealing money to make the hammers are bad. So I'm just trying to figure out, in a free market without coercion, what's really going on with the data centers, and would they be a positive or a net thing?
Yeah.
And if the government gets their teeth in anything, it becomes bad. Like corn and corn subsidies. Is corn bad? No. But the reason that we have corn syrup and obesity and all this is because they're stealing huge portions of money to make corn. So there's a huge incentive to keep making corn, and then there's excess corn. So it gets fed to the cattle and the pigs and all that stuff, and they don't digest it well, so they get sick. And they have even more, so they're like, well, we need to make sugar out of this, and there's even more. So we could put it in the gasoline now too. And it's like, you could just stop giving people money to make corn instead of trying to figure out new ways.
Well, and that's why I think that is the inherent issue with the data centers, especially with, Well, I
don't, here's the thing,
Kevin O'Leary one. And
this is the language, and I'm sorry to interrupt. You just said that's the inherent problem with the data centers. Like, no, that's the inherent problem with government. I want to try to figure out if a data center is objectively bad.
Well, let me rephrase that.
If adding coercion to it, it makes it bad. That's all.
Well, I think that inherently they have to, because they have to eminent domain property from people in order to make them, because that's and
so you don't believe in a free market economy that a data center could be created?
It could, but it would look a lot different than the things they're doing now. It wouldn't.
But that doesn't make the data center bad, is what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying pragmatically.
It would be a city power plant. It would be a small thing for each city. That's probably what it would look like, or each community. It wouldn't be these giant things that are fueling multinational corporations that already have countless entangling deals with all sorts of world governments, all across the globe.
With the Second Amendment in guns, right? Let's turn this around, right? So much of the liberals say, let's ban guns because people might shoot people and kill people. So what if I started saying, well, let's ban guns because the government gets a hold of guns and they create wars, so let's ban guns.
So let me rephrase this.
I'm not saying you. I'm attacking the argument.
Government should not have the ability to at all make any deals with any organization that's trying to steal land from other people in order to make, they shouldn't be making deals.
I 100% agree.
And that's the only way right now that they are able to do what they're doing, is because they're making these deals with the government. If they were not, then there'd be, sure, there might be some people, like large landowners, farmers, ranchers that don't have any children that are like, yeah, I don't know what to do with this. I'm 75 years old. I can't work the land. Oh, you want to buy this for, $10 million and then make a data center? Sure. Yes, I'll do, we can work something, but I want to make sure, there would be a lot more individual negotiation. There wouldn't be, the land grabs, and then also, you don't
have to convince me that the government is a
locals would be driving out people too.
You don't have to convince me that the government manipulates, uses fraud, is evil, steals stuff, eminent domain is theft. But that's not my argument. My argument is, I'm just trying to say, is a data center on its own, and it could be bad. It's very difficult to tell when we have a huge mafia involved in the creation of it.
Good or bad's the wrong question. It would be, would it have any utility in a free market? Because not from a utilitarian standpoint, but like, why would it emerge in a free market? That's the question.
Well,
why would a data center emerge in a free market?
There's a difference. If you're talking about data centers like the NSA that's been around since the Obamas, and they put it up and no one cared.
Yeah. Except for
the same media that's saying that this is
I remember
water and they're attacking Kevin
that was
Lee
an hour away from me back home in Maryland.
The same people that were saying there's no problem with the NSA data center. So I just want to say the collection of and holding and storage of data and sharing the data with people, especially like on the blockchain, doesn't seem like a negative thing to me. And we can move it away from the data center argument. There's more Bitcoin mining, for example, can be decentralized with an individual house. If I want to, I can make a data center in my house by stacking whatever. And we could each decentralize data centers in our house, and they would need some sort of cooling. And just like Bitcoin mining, when you mine them, the amount of electricity it takes to cool them, heat them, and farm Bitcoin either makes it worth the energy to get the Bitcoin short or long term, and you have to make those decisions. The same thing with holding and storing and moving data around.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree that I don't even know how we got down this road. Convincing me that the government is bad and coercive, it's like this is what I do all day to try. So, but the saying like, and because of that, like data centers are bad, that's the leap that I can't make.
Well, and that's where I was like, thinking about it, the good bad thing, it's like, okay, it's with the big data, the big data center thing. It's more like, would that be a creature that evolved? Period. But to your point, yeah, of course, people have the decentralized thing. Totally. That was the thing I bought into immediately with Bitcoin. I was like, oh, I can see how computing and, processing of various things can, it can be decentralized. That's the spirit of the initial internet in the first place, was to, spread it out. But I guess it's not even that, the companies are, because the companies also don't think that they're bad. They're like, we're solving problems that need to be solved. We're finding solutions to problems. We're using the resources available to us in the ways that are legally available to us, and using the most litigious lawyers to push the boundaries.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. For example, here's an example for me. Let's switch away from the data centers because a couple things. They're new. I don't have all the information, but also I think that they've currently become like. A topic I know a little bit more about. I guess this is why I want to switch it. The agricultural industrial complex, right?
Yeah.
I'm a vegan.
Yeah.
And I have done the research on the government intervention of the current food system. And prior to the railroads and the Rockefellers and all that stuff, meat and cattle was very few and far between and difficult to get. It costs a lot of water.
Where you lived.
You spend so much water. You spend 40 to 60% of water on agriculture right now, and no one's saying these corporations shouldn't get this water through eminent domain and stealing and taking from people to grow cows, pigs, and chickens and whatever. And as soon as you bring it up, they're like, "We eat meat, we do this." They're like, "Well, it's heavily subsidized by the government." Prior to that, meat was very rare. You ate mostly grains, meats, whatever, and a little bit of meat on the side. And now it's baked into the cake. And I would make the argument
it depends on where you live.
In a free society, I'd make the argument that in a free society that was left to like efficiency and stuff, that a lot more, the food itself would be more decentralized. So like right now we have like this, like an example, we have apple orchards in my area, right? People that have particularly had land that they grew apples and peaches on and stuff. But like, why are there maple trees and oak trees and pine trees in my yard? But why aren't there apples and orange trees everywhere around here for food for me to get? So it's not that
the answer is because they're publicly owned and they need to be treated with
food they're rare. There's been no energy put into them because there has been a move over the years to give that control and to give that. So like the whole food system
to various degrees, like
has been controlled by government, and the outcome of it looks how it does. So I don't disagree where there may not be data centers without government intervention, but I also find it interesting that so for me I was able to go through the process of seeing why agricultural farming is bad, dangerous, and coercive. And you can look at places that don't have government intervention, and even in modern day, and you can look at our current thing. So maybe data centers would not exist without.
Well, and different things would, and I think it would just look different everywhere, but it wouldn't be the government forcing something into somewhere where people are like, what the hell? We have no idea what this is about. For example, like, because you said you said back in the day people didn't eat as much meat and they ate more grains and stuff. Well, I did talk to my grandpa the other day, and because
but even your grandfather was after the Rockefellers when they already wanted to have steak and potatoes, and so they said, let's tax this so we can get money.
He was out in the frontier in like Idaho and Nevada where that was they weren't getting much of that. They were so them, and then also my other grandparents in Utah, my other grandpa rather.
Well, if they were out hunting their own food, then that's different. But that's what I'm talking about. If they were going to the store and they were buying meat,
they were generational cattle farmers.
Yeah.
So they
subsidized via the railroad. I'm sorry.
No. But though even prior, they were like Swedish. They're like they did that in Sweden. On my dad's side, they did that in Sweden. They kept cattle, and goats and stuff. And then when they came here, in Utah, they kept cattle and goat. In the 1800s, from it's my great grandpa. But then my other grandparents on the Cox side, they also were generational cattle farmers.
I'm not going to speak on you. I'll speak on my family as a Greek. One of the things that we did with
I just want to say one point to the food, to the food argument, because to the quality of food, though, it wasn't the same kind of beef. He said specifically they had hundreds of head of cattle that would just go throughout in the valleys of of Chalice, Idaho, grazing, and they would there was a bunch of wild horses out there. They would and they would take the pick out the best fellows and raise them to be stallions, and and sell them, and then so they made money off the land by growing, and they did their own thing, and so they raised the cattle, they let them free range, they got so much water, they drank water from the creek. There wasn't any of that.
If you don't mind, I'd like to move it away
But
from
also
your
they aged the meat,
yeah.
it wasn't that. This is where I was going. It's not mass produced. It's not, they butchered it. They had, they had their, their ice box area, they aged it. They aged, full cows for, 8 to 12 weeks, it was a different quality of meat. It's not the same, to your point though, of the, because it sounded like I was making an opposite point, but to your point of the government subsidization, subsidizing of, of the mass production, they weren't mass producing stuff. They just, they were, I mean, almost nomadic pastoralists to some degree, because they moved around, they were living the way our ancestors lived like thousands of years ago in the Ukrainian steppe. They were aging the meat so that it would be better, because then scientific studies now show that aging meat is actually so much better for the gut, because if you do eat meat, but like, and for people like me who can't eat raw vegetables, because it like tears up my intestines, but like the aging of the meat makes it more
I don't want to
viable.
get into that, but you probably never had a raw vegetable in your life.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say the vegetables that we have today, because the first of all, they're not alive when they get to you. The soil has been depleted because of the way they farm. There's no nutrients. It's all like fiber, and most people can't handle that high amount of fiber, especially when it doesn't have the enzymes that you're not getting the full. So it's very difficult to get actual full range enzyme. And the enzymes help break down the fiber and the nutrients and everything. We don't have that anymore. The vets, like when you see a tomato today in the store, it's like white to like orange. If you're lucky, it got a little bit of aged in nitrogen, compared to an heirloom ugly tomato that you grow in a garden that has a sweetness and a tanginess to it and a juicy and it's got all the enzymes and the life and everything in the fruit with the seeds.
I must be part like alien or something like that,
And
I specifically can't eat tomatoes.
They're a nightshade, so there is some people have a difficulty with them. They were originally a slave food because a lot of nightshades are poisonous. So my people, Greeks, ate a lot of tomatoes, and it was actually, I won't get into the history of it, but a Greek person brought a pizza to Queen of England or whatever, Queen Elizabeth, or what I think it was of Italy, whoever the queen was in Italy, I forget who it was. And they made it red sauce, white cheese, and basil leaves to be the green, white, and red. And then they started eating the nightshades, but they never had those. The kings and queens never had them because they thought they were poison, but they weren't poison. What it was is the kings had very expensive plates, so while like peasants were eating it out of their hand or off wood, they were eating it off copper and stuff, and they were getting poison from the pewter, from the metal and stuff, because the acid.
You get copper poisoning from that.
Yeah. So, anyways, not to get too into, I would like to get away from your family's history, because, like, I know that's going to be, you know what I mean, something that you study.
Well, my point was that different things, like work in different areas, because, like I said, they were cattle farmers for generations, even prior to, like the Industrial Revolution. I have other branches of my family that were farmers from, that were living on the East Coast. They've been here since the Mayflower. They were they've been doing farmers and, cattle and ranching long before the days of. But my point was that different things will, because this was tying into the data center argument, was that, it's like, sure, there'll probably be data centers pop up for different reasons in different areas. If the government wasn't being coercive, I would imagine that there would be far more in areas like Austin, Silicon Valley, maybe even around New York, where, there's more industry, there's more, there's more demand for that. However, there would be far less in areas like, the backwaters of Idaho or Montana, where, there's a lot of cheap land, but there's no, businesses, there would be far fewer there, I feel, especially due to things that we talked about, eminent domain, all that government coercion stuff, so that's why I'm not saying that there wouldn't be any, but I feel like, the market would adjust, various children of, like Greeks, Italians, and stuff like that are going to eat a lot more tomatoes than than people, whatever. But people of various backgrounds are going to have their own, influence in the area in which they're living. That's going to create a different thing.
I don't disagree. But my argument was, I was trying to figure out this. Here's what I was trying to figure out, right? And just bear with me. And the reason I was trying to pull you away from your lineage and stuff is because, I know that you do a lot of research and a lot of looking at your ancestry and history or whatever. And I don't want you to feel like when I'm discussing this stuff that I'm attacking you and your grandfather and your grandfather's grandfathers. I'm trying to, I want to talk about the idea. So this is not a shot. As a vegan, I don't think that somebody that's struggling in the middle of Africa that only has sugar ants and termites or whatever they're feeding on should be starved to death because they can't get plants. What I did want to say was that
they should probably develop agriculture and move past
there is a lot of what we see today is manipulated and has been manipulated through through a government intervention. And you can look at this, the way I try to see it is looking through it with ancient texts and documentation that goes back where it's not around. There was still government, but it's less coercive. And if you look at Lent, for example, a lot Greek Lent, Orthodox Lent, Russian Lent, Latvian, Lebanese, Orthodox, all this stuff, Romania. The Lent brings them back to a no alcohol, no meat, no dairy. Even because olive oil is only farmed in a small window every year to get the flavonoids, to get real one. The new olive oil is different. They were restrained from all that stuff to teach you deferred gratification, but also that was kind of where the Garden of Eden was or whatever. And I'm not making a religious argument here. When I grew up, and we would do a lamb every Easter that we would get and we would pick out, and we'd go to a butcher and get an actual lamb. It was fresh. I would go on the spigot and I would eat that, and that had to do with Lent and Easter and the Passover stuff. But it was known that was a very rare occurrence. And it used to be back in the day, a once a year thing that you would lose a lamb to eat.
I think that was also a peasant thing though, because they didn't.
Well, but it was also
all the meat was taken by the upper class. It
was very, but they're still Robin Hood, the story of taxation and stealing.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly. So right now in the agricultural thing, chickens take years and years to get a certain size. They have put them in so they can grow in weeks and months to the point where their legs break and they fatten up and they're genetically modified and they're injected with all this stuff. So this idea that meat was always readily available and used, it's from a science point of view, it doesn't make sense because it takes 7 pounds of grain to make 1 pound of water and the time to grow it. It's it
depends on but that's where it depends on where you live. My ancestors significantly came from Scandinavia and Germany, which itself has the highest percentage
of grains for an animal to make 1 pound
and
of flesh and then grow. So that animal takes a certain amount of time before it's big enough to eat.
Yeah, and so that's why lactose tolerance developed in the people that were descended from the. For example, my ancestors probably about 50% at least descended from the Yamnayan steppe herders of the pastoral steppe herders from about 5,000 to 6,000 years ago on the Yamnayan steppe, which is where that's where lactose tolerance comes from. Now I am very lactose tolerant. My gut rejects all sorts of things now, include I have bloody diarrhea when I try to eat oatmeal. Oatmeal tears up my gut. I don't know why, But I try to prepare it various different ways and it seems like even the genuine steel cut oats are worse than anyways, I digress. But so I can't eat a lot of grains. My body just can't process it. A lot of people that are descended from those Yamnayan steppe herders also have higher rates of these autoimmune diseases like this. Now, the Yamnayan steppe herders themselves, the reason why they were nomadic pastoralists, just 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, was because they were lactose tolerant. They could drink the milk of that was almost their entire nutrition. They drank, in fact, so they would eat the meat and stuff, and then they would go hunting to find other stuff. But a big part was the fermented dairy, the raw dairy and stuff like that, because they would there's images of like Greek frescoes of the Scythians drinking milk right out of the horse's tit. So this goes far. So I think it also kind of depends on if people have more significant, it seems like you have more significant Anatolian Neolithic farmer DNA, which is from thousands of years ago. They were the ones that first developed farming, which are the Greeks, Anatolia, whereas it seems like I may be a little more descended from the Yamnayan steppe herders, because my body cannot process that stuff. Also,
so I don't want to attack your lineage, and I don't want to attack.
Also go back to the bones. You can see the amount of meat that people were eating.
Okay,
that's the other thing.
Okay, but so even if I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I'm saying is, if all that is true, right?
The Dutch became healthier. They grew from about 5.5 feet tall to about 5'11" to 6 feet tall after they included dairy and meat in their diet.
Hey, Panda, thanks for joining us. Okay, that's a nutritional thing. It doesn't necessarily. You could get that nutrition for anywhere.
There's varying levels of agriculture and meat eating across different areas of Europe, depending on the individual cultures. Okay. Is all I'm saying.
I get that, but all I'm trying to say there's through to grow meat, right? You can grow. I bought green onions a week ago. I cut all the green onions off the top. All those calories, I ate them. I put that into water. They've already regrown in a week, and I can cut that again. I have to do that 7 times and feed that to an animal, and then they will get one of those 7-to-1 ratio, whatever those 7s are. If they're growing muscle, they'll get 1-to-7 ratio from that nutrients to create one thing. So just scientifically,
yes,
meat has to be rarer than vegetation because whatever. So now, if you only have one person on the entire planet, then you're probably going to be able to have enough meat to infinitely feed that person. But as time has gone on, and we've got a population boom, I don't want to get into, especially with you on the show, I don't want to get into nitrogen fertilization, but we had a boom after nitrogen fertilization. I don't even know how we got off this topic on the gig app stuff, but I guess this is food related or whatever. So food production went up. It saved a lot of people from the agriculture, allowed us to do a 7-to-1 proportional ratio. But even with the explosion of nitrogen fertilization, the ability to grow plants faster by no longer using manure to grab those plants, and then still doing a 7-to-1 ratio to get the animals, they still had to speed up the animals' rate of growth on the other end to get the chickens to a larger size with the 7-to-1. So
let me make it clear: I'm not defending the modern farming.
So for me,
if anything, my point was
I get that the government involved, but I'm just saying, like, for me,
it costs a lot less if you do it yourself, because then they just eat
potentially the amount of meat that we're eating today is objectively subsidized because that's not an efficient system. That was my point of it, is like,
Oh yeah.
when you can get nutrients at a 7-to-1 ratio just right off the bat, then you would think that in like a homesteading environment, you would eat at a 7-to-1 ratio, meaning you would eat 7. You would be like, okay, I am going to have some meat, but a percentage of the time, I'm a 7-to-1 or 6-to-1 or at least a 5-to-1.
You're talking
Typically not a 1-to-1, and definitely not lopsided. If it's a 7-to-1 ratio of calories in to make 1 pound of flesh, it's kind of crazy to be like, well, I'm going to eat only flesh and no vegetation, because like now you've completely flipped it, where it's a 7-to-1 ratio and you're only eating it. So now it's like a 14-to-1 because you're not even balancing. That was my whole point. But I don't want to go in circles here. I do appreciate their family was
well, and that's all I was saying too, is like, hey, if you have cows grazing the open fields that cost you nothing because the grass, it's wild plains and the grass just grows, and then, and they happen to eat, I don't know, wild huckleberries or something.
But that's not my, I get that. I think we should get
I'm
off.
not disagreeing with your point. I'm not disagreeing with your point at all.
You feel like I'm attacking your ancestry.
No. And that's why, because and that's obviously the whether people are mass, the government subsidizing either meat, which for some reason they're, a lot of the meat is now being sold overseas and we're buying Argentine meat for some reason. I don't know why. But whether it's that or whether it's the vegetables being subsidized, like either one are stupid, because they all of them create more problems than they solve. And tying this back to the data center stuff, it creates more issues for, a lot of times that, individuals living in those communities that, never asked for those things in the first place. Whereas, if things were never industrialized and centralized, by corporations to the degree that they are now, if, we could have, reversed 100 years in the past and kept going, then, there'd probably still be herds of cows around, eating stuff. There would also be giant fields of corn, just not nearly,
I don't want to get into it. There would not probably be giant fields of corn because corn wouldn't exist without man. It would die off pretty quickly. It's actual like it's
even giant.
I know you were just making it. It doesn't matter what it's corn. It could be potatoes, whatever.
Yeah.
There was stuff like corn. If you look into it, it actually was a grain with like a small little top, and they bred it to have bigger and bigger seeds to eat it, and they would die out almost immediately without man. So I think that might be the reason they're trying to subsidize it so heavily. But a lot of this stuff is manipulated. We take it for granted now.
Yeah. Because they can only also the thing about corn I learned recently is that I think they can only clone it at this point. They can't,
Yeah, actually, let's see if I can find this guy. I really like this guy.
Because I remember going deep into this stuff about 10 years ago, and because specifically also one of the Mormon prophets was Ezra Taft Benson was a was the head of the Department of Agriculture. He was a Secretary of Agriculture, I think, or maybe Undersecretary or whatever, Assistant Secretary of Agriculture, I think during Reagan. Or maybe a little bit before, maybe it was during Isaac. I can't remember now. But anyways, it was one of those things. And I was like, let me look into this, because like agriculture is important. And I was like, oh, no, the corn subsidies. And not only the corn subsidies, but, that's how I learned why, we have corn, like you alluded to earlier, we have corn in our gas because they just make the ethanol. They're like, they try to profit off of every single byproduct. Because of, they're like, all right, we've invested so much money into it's almost like a sunk cost fallacy way of thinking of, well, how else can we, I mean, to one degree, it does drive a certain type of innovation. That's what the pro-government people would argue. But then to the other degree, and this is the other way, I was thinking was, you're like, there wouldn't be the massive fields of corn because it's specifically genetically modified at this point. But also to the other degree, technically that ancient corn stalk that you were talking about only existed thousands of years ago. The Native Americans, were the ones that initially got involved with the, they were the ones that did the initial selective, artificial selective breeding to get it to something that resembles a modern corn cob. But yeah, the modern yellow corn. I mean, even to the degree that the modern orange carrot was not a standardized thing.
I'm also furiously looking for this guy that I.
No, you're good. I'm vamping. I
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I know that I'm looking off screen, but I am.
No worries.
Listening in here. Maybe you can help me. It's the guy that looks at the camera and he's like, and he's like, this is the so and so whatever fruit, and the history of the fruit is this, and it's like, and then it always ends with like, and I think that's pretty insane. Oh, you know what I'm talking about? I don't even know how to look. Like, I don't even know what to search for. I tried searching for guy that talks about fruit, talks about vegetables. Black guy that talks about fruit.
Black guy talks about fruit.
Yeah,
I think I found it. The fruit that was.
Oh, I found it here. Yeah, I had to. Sean Grows. That's who it is.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not logged in on.
Okay, so I found it right here.
Nothing you've ever eaten has ever needed you more. Nothing you've ever eaten.
All right, hold on a second. Can you hear that, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Okay, perfect. So this is really interesting. I like this guy a lot. I watch a lot of his videos. I will say that I just trust him now. When he first started, I used to like, that can't be true. And I would look stuff up and it was always right. So now I just blindly watch it. So if this is not true, he has got me. He got me. But I've watched enough of his stuff that I do trust.
It may be one of those things where it's like true to a certain degree, and he might be exaggerating some things.
Yeah, but I've researched a dozen videos of his because I watch him quite a bit. I brought him up on Corn-Fed Podcast with Dalton Pruitt. We'll go watch Dalton every Saturday night at I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time still. But anyways, I brought this guy up a couple of times because he does go through this stuff, and I find it really interesting.
Most people don't know. Nothing you've ever eaten has ever needed you more than corn. Corn will never be able to spread its own seed. So without a human deciding to plant it, corn would go extinct in a single season. 9,000 years ago, it wasn't even corn. It was a grass called teosinte. It was super bitter and it was barely worth eating. But humans kept breeding it for bigger cobs and tighter husk. Within a few thousand years, corn went from a wild grass to the single most farmed crop in human history. In exchange, corn made humans clear forests for it and carry it to every continent on Earth. It doesn't even need you to like it. It just needs you to replant it. And every single year, like a good little human, you do. Your existence sits in my hands, as does mine sit in yours, which is pretty insane. Nothing you've ever...
So this goes with the exorphin theory of human domestication. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this theory that human civilization, as we know it, and with people, being more, cooperative with each other rather than, combative is two different exorphins that emerge. Now, exorphins are external things that trigger a certain mild opiate in the brain. And now this has been studied, and there's some exorphins that have been found both in cow milk and in wheat. Now, the theory is that he goes, now you're a slave to this corn. He's making a joke, you plant it every year. Well, the theory actually goes that that's exactly what happened with corn and with wheat, that basically that humans are like, wow, ooh, this is good, easy food. But because one argument that people have against, why would agriculture emerge so fast? It's so labor intensive. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors were, they had so much spare time. Well, it's because it also produced beer. So not only did it produce beer, but it also produced, a food that they could process and use in various different ways. But that that basically we were domesticated by plants.
Well,
and also natalized by the constant consumption of or rather infantilized by the constant consumption of cow milk. Also, which, you know, if you look at the faces of a modern adult human, like this, not to get into this, whatever, but the skull shape of a modern adult human versus one from 20,000 years ago, you know, those guys look like, you know, just the most high T UFC fighters nowadays, you know, that average. But nowadays,
they made statues of my beautiful people.
Yeah, no. But I'm talking like 20,000. I'm talking 20,000. You know, but to that degree, but you know, to the same argument that, you know, Greek, the bastion of, you know, of modern civilization 2,000 years ago, what we, you know, what is the most argue is the progenitor of modern Western civilization. You know, the depictions of, you know, both facial wise and below the waist wise were far less, you know, animalistic, gnarly humans, and they were more, you know, they were, you could say, beautiful men, you know. They were, you know, so we're focused on the beauty, you know, which is, you know, speaks to that the human domestication and search for, you know, a peace and tranquility, right? You know, and I mean, and that's reflected in, you know, the philosophy of all of the Greek you know, ancient Greek philosophers, you know, looking for, you know, reason and purpose rather than just, you know, conquering and domination like some other, you know, societies. But
if you guys go over to my other channel, Dave Wright the Thinker, I talk a lot about this stuff. I'm not technically a vegan. It's the easiest label to catch people up. But I extend the non-aggression principle to all life, including animals, bacteria, and viruses. And a lot of people make fun of me about this. And I discuss in some of my videos that plants are, people use the term sentient a lot. They throw that around as if it's a moral phrase, but like, life is life and life wants to live. And you know that life wants to live because it is living. And if it didn't want to live, it would be dead because it would no longer thrive to live. And then they say that, well, we're high tech and intelligent and stuff because we communicate, and plants they're nothing because they don't communicate. It's like, but plants communicate to us all the time. They're nonviolent. They communicate with us in different ways. Some people think telepathically or whatever, but mushrooms and fungi through electrical charges run entire forests. You can look into this, but also, I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people talk about like a broccoli is bitter because it doesn't want us to eat it because it's poisoning you. And maybe so, but they never talk about that corn is sweet and it might be doing that to trick you into growing it. Like, so there's a way to, the idea that verbal is the only way to communicate stuff and that using force is a sign of intelligence or manipulation of your environment through like actual grabbing it. But if you look around,
grass smell is a symbol or a signal to other grass to say, hey, I've been cut, watch out.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of different communications that are going on that people take for granted, that they're being manipulated by their environment and they don't even recognize it. I do see, and I don't want to get too much in this because we've kind of got the show into a philosophy show instead of a gig work show today, which is fine. Conversation goes exactly where a conversation is supposed to go, exactly when the conversation is supposed to go there. So I'm not going to police that, but a lot of this stuff can be talked about and seen on my other channel. We're almost 3 hours deep, so I'm going to pull this back and say. I wanted to
bring up one quote from Trump when he said the past week, grass has life just like humans do. He said that last week. Anyways, sorry. Just when you were saying that, like grass, I was like, Trump said.
Go into the
so funny.
The White House is some of the best grass. It's the grass.
It's some of the best lives.
It's green. The grass is always green here at the White House. Other countries, it's just sand and dirt. They're mud people, really. It's all shit in holes. But here, the cleanest, the greenest grass.
It's the best grass.
I do a terrible job, but
American grass.
But I think I got the hands down. I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just sounding like an impression of an impression of an impression.
So go down below. We're gonna have all the timestamps. It's whenever the transcript comes out. It usually takes me 24 to 48 hours. Whenever the transcripts go below. If you're looking to sign up for Instacart, it's probably too late in the show. Whatever, you probably heard it earlier. Do that now and use somebody's link. If it's not mine below, use somebody else's so they get some money so it doesn't go to the corporations. 7/1 to September 30th is the window to get your Instacart ranking.
Yeah.
Gold is 20, platinum's 100, diamond is 300. I would recommend that anybody that's interested go out and try to do 20 orders to get the gold status and see if they notice a difference. And then if they do notice a difference and they're making more money, I've noticed that now that I'm platinum, I'm making more money. I'm going to shoot for diamond this month. That link's below. All my channels are below. Brosef's links below. Also go over to Brosef's eBay. We didn't talk about it today, but go over to Brosef's eBay. Look around. If you see anything you like, don't message on eBay. Hit them in one of the other socials, either Twitter or Instagram, and say, hey, I was looking at this item. Then he can sell it to you without the fees and stuff, and you guys can go direct. You'll get a discount, and he'll still be able to make his profit on it for finder's fee of finding this material. And then check out the other apps below. I would highly recommend. I wanted to get into Roadie today, but I didn't. But Roadie's got blocks now, and blocks have routes on them, and they tell you if they fit in your vehicle. And It seems like the blocks are paying between $200 and $300 each, and they take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. So if you're just looking to know how much you're going to make in a day without chasing it, I would check out Roadie, because you can just take a $300 block. It'll tell you if it fits in your vehicle now. You go pick it up, you go deliver it, and you get your $300. And based on the articles, if you're looking to get paid sooner rather than later, check out the Curri app, Curri. They pay, every order is paid within 24 hours. So if you do an order today, it clears by midnight, and you get paid by noon tomorrow. So,
and remember, if you don't like the offer that they have on Curri, then just wait a couple hours and it'll pop up, maybe, unless someone else grabs it.
Yeah, we're deep into it now, and it's 80 degrees in my office because I can't keep the door open AC. But with the Curri thing, they do go straight up, and I would keep an eye on them, because you'll start seeing what's good with Curri is it tells you how far away the pickup is from you, and then how many miles you're going to drive the order once you pick it up. And then it tells you the mileage, but that dollar per mile is just the order. So it might be 17 miles away, and they're giving you $50 to drive 50 miles. So you still got to do 17 miles, then the 50 for $50, which would be $1 a mile. But if you watch that, it might jump up, and it might be $100 for 50. So it's like, oh, I'm making $2 a mile. And then it disappears. So it's like, okay, in my area, people are stealing at about $2. So once it hits $1.90, and then you're like, oh, it disappeared. It's like, you don't want to race to the bottom.
Yeah.
We're taking it early and earlier. So, but get a feel for what things are going for and what your rate is. And then it's always compared to what. It's like, do I want to do this for $150? And it's like, nah, it's only going to be $25 an hour. It's like, okay, or what? $0 an hour? So if you know what I mean? So it's always compared to what?
Opportunity cost.
An opportunity. So as always, thank you for joining all of us. I am rushing us off because we try to do an hour, and we're at 3 hours today. I appreciate the back and forth. As always, I have no animosity towards Broseph, just a couple.
Same, yeah.
The reason I was trying to get it back on track was because the title, I don't want the titles to be clickbaity. And so
have someone pop an hour and a half in there, like, why are they talking about cows?
Yeah. So it's like I based the original title based on the articles and what I think we're going to talk about. Then we talk, and then I go over the transcript and I change the title and the description.
Yeah.
So if you guys, I doubt if you got clickbaited, you probably didn't make it 3 hours in. But I'm not trying to clickbait anybody. I'm trying to guess what we're going to talk about, and then I
Cars,
actually
horns, and
change
curry.
the titles afterwards. So if you ever see me trying to like move the conversation into a particular direction, it's because I don't want people to come here for Instacart and then feel misled that we're talking about something else, because I do have a philosophy show for that. Oh, and also check out Broseph what you changed the show. When is Losercast now?
Well, it's usually Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. Wait, no, sorry. It's usually Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. The past couple weeks, it's been Monday night because last week, Toad said, "Hey, I got a thing on Tuesday," and then this week, Leighton was like, "Hey, I got a thing on Tuesday." So he, follow Leighton, me, Leighton Radner, Toad, and Tyler Yankee, and Eldon. Also, Hindian has been filling in for Eldon as he's been on the boat. Hindian has been the fifth mic here. Wait, fourth or fifth? Yes. One of the 5 mics on Losercast the past few weeks, filling in for Eldon, and it's been great. It's been awesome. So love potting with that guy. And so yeah, tune in for that. And then also on the 12th, I will be on the Golden Shower Power Hour.
Oh, that's
Sunday.
It's
Sunday.
on. So is the Golden Shower Power Hours actually a space is on Twitter, correct?
That, and I believe it's also on I think they stream on Rumble.
Okay. They had reached out to me a couple of times, and then the day came around and they never reached back out to me. And then all of a sudden, like last Sunday, like he sent me a DM at like 11 o'clock or something. And I was like, brother, I'm 50. I'm going to bed. Sorry. Like I can't hop on a spaces at 11 p.m. I'm in,
Yeah.
I already brushed my teeth, took my magnesium citrate. I'm going to bed, baby.
Ooh, well, they did. I really hope it's earlier than 11. So that would be
I think that was an improv too. So, all right. Okay. It's up to 82 degrees in here, dude. I'm going to start. My brain is going to start frying.
Yeah,
I need to open this back door back up and get some AC.
Like you're living in, it's like you're living in Europe over there.
Well, I'm sitting. So here's the thing: I don't even have the windows open, and so the sun rises here, and then it goes over there to set. So, but it comes across this whole corner all day. So the rest of my house right now is probably 70 degrees, like 10 to 12 degrees cooler.
It's just
during the show, I have to close that door so there's no noise from the AC or the fans.
Yeah.
So like it just slowly, and I have a major light here, 4 major lights here, and then 4 major lights here to light the studio up to get this lighting so that the shadows on here and stuff. So I'm like just all the electronics, all the lights focused on me, the sun on the outside. So it's like,
and the slowly roasting.
It's 64% humidity, 82 degrees in here now.
You're cooking like a 7-Eleven hot dog in there.
Yeah, so the fact that I am not pouring sweat right now is a testament to my body's either dehydration or ability to self-regulate things. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Give it 24, and I'll put it in the thing. And as always, I appreciate you guys sticking around. Share this with anybody you think might be interested, and share the Instacart link below with anybody who might be interested in joining up. So we appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Hell yeah. Peace.
Outro music.